There are no public comments for closed session.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Let's go ahead and begin. Today is April 7th, Wednesday, April 7th, 2021. Time is approximately 5:32 p.m. This is our closed session portion. And just for clarification, Ms. City Clerk, are there any public comments?
There are not any public comments for closed
Okay,
session.
very good. Thank you so much. Let's proceed into our agenda calendar for tonight. Clerk, are we ready? Good evening, everyone. This is Wednesday, April 7th, 2021, the start of our public session for tonight's City Council meeting. The time is approximately 7:06 p.m. on Wednesday evening. I will ask Councilman Damon Alexander, sir, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Ms. City Clerk, do we have all members present?
I do not believe he's logged in at this.
Okay, all right. We'll wait a few seconds here.
Mayor, if I may, while we're waiting,
Yes, Councilman Charette, sir.
put my face on there. I don't know what everyone else is seeing, but what I would like to see, we've got an awful lot of people on the Zoom meeting, and I guess maybe this is a Mitch Cochran question. Can we ensure that all council members and the mayor are on page 1 of 2 when we've got this many people on? I'm showing little arrows to the right and left that show 1 of 2. And if you go over to 2, we've got a couple of council members back over there. So just a kind of a technical question.
Okay, Mr. Charette, let's
Look into it. Yeah.
Yeah, let's look into it and let's have staff look into that. Thank you for that recommendation. Ms. City Clerk, do we have council members present? Mr. Alexander, if Councilman Alexander is available. If not, Councilman Charette, let's go ahead and proceed. Sir, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight? Councilman
Sure, please all stand and join me as we pledge the flag. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Councilman Charette. At this time, I will ask our city clerk, please, to call the roll.
Councilmember Sanchez?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Here.
Councilmember Figueroa?
Here.
Councilmember Charette?
Here.
Councilmember Reynoso?
Here.
Councilmember Calvin?
Here.
Councilmember Alexander? He has not logged in yet. And Mayor Valdivia?
Present. Thank you, Ms. City Clerk. At this time, Ms. City Attorney, is there anything to report from our closed session?
Mayor, council members, and members of the public, we had 2 closed session items this evening.
but we do not have any reportable action.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. City Attorney. Appreciate that. Mr. City Manager, please proceed with your report.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, we have a few tidbits tonight. Some pretty good information. First of all, reopening. As I'm sure we're all aware, as effective today, San Bernardino County entered the orange tier, so that is really good news. We are in the process now of reopening our public facilities. Certainly, the libraries, community centers, parks will be progressing up to the thresholds that are allowed in the orange tier. We are also going to be reopening the public counter for Public Works and Community and Economic Development Department. So we're heading back. We're on the proper trajectory. Some good things are happening. It's really good that the libraries are opening actually because this is National Library Week. From the Public Works Department, we got some good news today. The county today approved the CEQA findings and plan specifications to go out to bid on emergency repairs along the south side of Rialto Avenue from Rancho Avenue to Macy Street. That stretch was damaged in the flood events at the end of December. County is acting very quickly to repair the damage. I want to extend special gratitude to Supervisor Joe Baca, who I think really pushed this through. He and his staff worked pretty hard to make sure that these repairs were effected on a timely basis. Also, the California Theater, we're doing some work over there. We're replacing the roof. That work is almost done. Again, it's timely. We're looking at being able to reopen and start performances at the California Theater again too. So that's an important piece of work. Library system is not only reopening, but they're also increasing the public access hours of the Feldheim Library, going from 16 hours a week to 29 hours a week. So that's another step, another indicator of things going in the right direction. Parks, Recreation, Community Services is having a few celebrations. Mother's Day with a music appreciation component and a Best Fancy Hat contest. There's going to be two events, one on May 9th at the Fifth Street Senior Center and another on May 10th at the Paris Hills Senior Center. Cinco de Mayo is also coming up. Two events to celebrate Cinco de Mayo, May 5th on the actual Cinco de Mayo at the Fifth Street Senior Center and May 6th also at Paris Hills Senior Center. And we've also purchased some outdoor recreation equipment, some really durable stuff. It's made of concrete. So there's some ping pong tables and some other recreation materials that are going to be installed at a few of the parks around the city. The fire department, this will be music to a lot of people's ears, is having a fireworks surrender days, I should say. We have several events around the county. The one in the city of San Bernardino is going to be on April 13th. At Fire Station 221, which is at 200 East 3rd Street. We're also in the process of getting the police department is ramping up activities with respect to monitoring for illegal fireworks activities. We'll be getting another report on that very, very soon. The water department is getting a $500,000 grant to install a bunch of smart meters and do some other water conserving measures around the city. As they ramp up their activities in that respect, they're improving their technology and doing a much better job of conserving that most precious of commodities. Finally, I wanted to highlight a couple of employees. I was touring I've toured a couple of libraries recently and went to the Dorothy Ingham Library, met Yvette Freeman. Yvette has been with the county for almost 24 years. And talking to her, getting the opportunity to speak with her was really refreshing to hear from somebody who's been with the city that long. That's true dedication to the city, and she just does a fantastic job along with all the other people. But we sometimes kind of forget the value that our employees bring to our city. So just wanted to thank her for her almost 24 years of service. And then the water department, Rafael Chavez was deployed with the Army Reserve 304th Sustainment Brigade. He was deployed to Kuwait. Brought back a flag from Camp Arifan, and he did that, presented it back to his friends, his coworkers at the San Bernardino Water Department. So I want to thank him for his service and in defense of our country. So, Mr. Mayor, with that, I will turn it back over to you. That's my report.
Thank you very much, Mr. City Manager. I also want to send my deep appreciation and pass on to our Public Works Department. Mr. Gary Bell, a constituent today, contacted me earlier and was very complimentary of the professionalism of our city staff and the Public Works crew. Also, Mr. Ekman in North San Bernardino contacted me, and his issue was resolved on trees. So great job, Public Works crew, for getting out there and getting stuff done for our constituents. It's the public that we serve, and we appreciate you and our public employees. Tonight, we'll proceed on with our appointment portion of tonight's calendar. We have 6 individuals that we are appointing. Ms. Angela Torres to General Plan Advisory Committee, Mr. Micah E. Lee to Parks and Rec, Mr. Anthony Aguirre to General Plan Advisory, Mr. Anthony Robertson, Ms. Veronica Martindale, and Ms. Vicky Lee. I invite a motion, please, for approval. I'm sorry, is there a motion for approval?
No, I have a comment.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Councilmember.
If we can vote separately on appointment number 2 for Parks and Rec, Mr. Micah Lee, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, is there a motion for approval?
Move to approve.
Move to approve, and a second by Councilman Reynoso, with a first by Councilman Figueroa. There's been a request by Councilmember Barr to separate item number 2, so it'd be items on this vote, folks, 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's the motion. And Ms. City Clerk, if you call the roll, please.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa,
Yes.
Councilmember Charette,
Yes.
Councilmember Reynoso,
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin,
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Ibarra, please proceed on item number 2. This is the appointment of Micah E. Lee to Ward 6 for the Parks and Rec Commission. Your
Yes,
comment?
the only concern I had, as I mentioned at the last meeting, this person, I believe the application said they live in the 5th Ward, 9 to 6. I am of the belief that people who actually live in those districts will have a better voice for that district specifically. So that's my only objection.
Councilman Reynoso, go ahead, sir.
I want to speak to Mr. Micah's character as he's known to the youth in the city of San Bernardino. He works on the west side every single day. And I think that his experience with Parks and Recreation is not contingent on where he lives. I think this is one I support what you're saying, and I supported before, and I totally understand the argument, but I know Micah and I know what he offers to the youth specifically. And I honestly can't think of a better candidate to be a Parks and Rec commissioner. I just wanted to say that.
approve.
And I'll
Move
second
to
it.
approve by Councilmember Sanchez with a second from Councilman Reynoso. There's a motion to approve item number 2, Mr. Lee. Ms. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem,
No.
Councilmember Figueroa,
Yes.
Councilmember Charette,
Yes.
Councilmember Reynoso,
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin,
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander.
Aye.
The motion passes 6-1.
Okay, thank you very much, council members, and we want to encourage and congratulate all appointed commissioners tonight. Our city clerk will make contact with you for the official swearing in and signature of the documents. And once again, we thank you for your participation in helping us with these commissions. So congratulations to you all. Let's move on to our proclamation tonight. This is a proclamation of the Mayor and City Council recognizing and celebrating April 4th through the 10th of 2021 as National Library Week. What a fantastic San Bernardino Public Free Library that we have in our community. We have our main Feldheim Library, Dorothy Ingram, Paul Villasenor, and the Row Library on Marshall. And we're very, very grateful for all of the employees there that serve our community. This is a proclamation, and I'd like to read it. Whereas, in observance of National Library Week, patrons are encouraged to visit one or more of the 4 San Bernardino public libraries, either in person or virtually, at www.sbpl.org. And whereas, quote, "Welcome to your library," unquote, is this year's theme for the American Library Association. During the pandemic, library workers continue to exceed their community's demands and adapt resources and services to meet their users' needs during these difficult and challenging times. Whether people visit in person or virtually, libraries offer endless opportunities to transform lives through education and lifelong learning experiences. And whereas during the pandemic, our online services for remote learners, including ebooks and e-audiobooks, homework help via chat, and others were more valuable than ever to our patrons. And whereas libraries help change lives in our communities, serving people of every age, education level, ethnicity, and physical ability, and whereas more than 22,000 people have our San Bernardino Public Library card, and whereas our San Bernardino Public Library has served our community for 129 years, and if there is any city that can benefit from a free public library, it is here in the city of San Bernardino. Now, therefore, the city of San Bernardino, mayor and city council did hereby proclaim the week of April 4th through April 20, 2021 as National Library Week. We send our deep appreciation to our director. I don't know if you can see it there, but we have a resolution. And if he is joining us, I'd like to give him recognition. Ed, are you there, sir?
Yes.
Sir, congratulations, and we salute you and your department. Would you like to say a few words?
I'd like to thank the mayor and for his kind reading of the proclamation, and to thank all the members of the council, and would also like to thank our city manager and assistant city manager. As we just heard, our city manager had many kind words about library services and our dedicated employees. So thanks again to everyone.
Thank you very much, Ed. We appreciate your leadership at our San Bernardino Public Libraries, and we wish you much success in these coming days as we reopen our libraries in a safe manner. So thank you for your leadership.
Thank you to everyone.
All right, let's move on to our public comments tonight. This is our presentation portion. I'm sorry, our public comments portion. And we'll recognize our city clerk, please. There's approximately 47, is that right, Ms. City Clerk, comments?
46 comments. I believe there are 3 comments that are in Spanish, and so we'll be providing a brief translation of those.
All right, thank you, council members, and we'll go ahead and roll the tape. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Anna. I work in the city. So what I just don't get is how a city with an international airport, a Cal State University, car dealerships, malls, and all this other stuff is still so ghetto. Like, when I think about it, it's kind of obvious that it's because of the people managing it, the city council, you know, and I watch the city council meetings while I'm babysitting my nephews all the time, and you guys are always yelling at each other, clapping at each other to be quiet. I just feel like it makes us look bad. You're not on the same team. Like, it's like every single one of you is on your own team, and you don't really care about Team San Bernardino. Like, all you really care about is what's going to make you popular, what's going to make you look good, but that's not always the right thing to do for the city. I hope I'm making sense. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is just do your jobs. Like, don't be ghetto, just do your job. You have to lead this city, not come at it and be all ghetto. Because if you're ghetto, then the city's ghetto. So stop bickering and just get to work. Yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to say.
My name is Sonja Nita Scott, and I'm calling about the old bakery. I believe the address is 2088 Medical Center Drive. I've complained before. I'm calling about all the debris and stuff that is out on one of the main streets, Medical Center, and the dangers of the stuff they have stacked up there. A big cooler flew in our neighbor's yard, and they didn't even know it was back there. I had to call and report it. They had to get a big tractor to drive it out. It was that heavy. As I stated before, had there been a child there, they would have been killed when this thing came over the fence. Also, my mother's house is in the back of there, and debris is blowing off the roof, blowing over into her yard daily, and we're having to clean it up. We've complained about this before. It's really a bad eyesore on the west side of San Bernardino, and no one would want to live by this place. They have broken down cars sitting in the front. The weeds are high, over a foot high. There's pallets all out on the front. as a matter of fact, some of the stuff was even on the sidewalk the other day. There's a senior citizen building right there. There's rats out in there. We've had to set out traps by the fence. We just need this place gone. It's an eyesore, and it's on one of the main boulevards. We want this for open session. I want this to go to open session. And I want the city of San Bernardino to do something about this place. It's an eyesore and a hazard, and it's bringing down all the property value around there. Thank you so much. Sonja Nika Scott. My number is 909-556-6133. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jeanette Seppi, and I am calling about item number 30 on the public, I believe it's the public session, regarding the Oxbow concrete mountain, I guess, disposal or removal. I am in full support of this removal, and I am very, very excited for it to be removed. I am within 1 mile radius, so I want to thank you and everyone else for considering this, and very, very appreciative for me and my family, for the health of us, and for re-beautifying our neighborhood. Thank you.
Hi, this is Victor Velasco of San Bernardino. I'm calling to leave a comment about the vote on a warehouse moratorium. I personally am in favor of a warehouse moratorium, at least temporarily, so that we could figure out exactly who benefits from all the warehouses that are in this area. Our air quality is just not good. As many of you definitely know, the air quality is we're suffering here. And then so many of these warehouses, specifically the Amazon warehouses, only offer temporary employment when our people need permanent employment. And the money that these warehouses make does not even come back to our communities. It leaves to go to some billionaires' pockets. So I am in favor of the warehouse moratorium, and I hope the City Council votes in favor of this warehouse moratorium. We need to figure out how we're going to solve this and who benefits from this, because our city needs to benefit from this. Thank you.
Hello, I am Roxana Barrera, First Ward resident, calling about the warehouse moratorium. I want you all to vote to stop building warehouses and see how much our air quality will improve with just that alone. Do the right thing. Stop selling out our city and our health for money. It's not fair to people with respiratory issues, and all of our children are being born with asthma now. Prove to your constituents that you aren't bought out. Elections are coming up, and I'm sure you all up for re-election will be running again. Show us you care about the people and not just money. Enough is enough.
Hello, my name is Andrew Thompson. This is for open session. I want to encourage the City Council to consider a citywide warehouse moratorium and put a pause on warehouse development. Thank you for your time.
Hello, this is Fifth Ward resident Henry Nickel commenting on item 30 of the open session agenda for April 7th. This message is to ask the council to consider a policy change that would require bonding and surety for all temporary use, stockpiling permits, etc., in an amount that exceeds the value of the property, to ensure that in the future the city is not exposed to costs that exceed the actual value of the property in question. I would request that this policy change be enacted as part of item 30 this evening to ensure that this never happens again in our city. I would also ask that the council return to public meetings as soon as possible. It is very important that the council be engaged with the public directly and in open session, open to the public, and that the public have the opportunity to engage our council and elected leaders directly. I would ask that that be considered this evening as well, and that a plan and schedule be put in place to ensure that those public meetings are once again enacted as soon as is reasonably possible. Thank you, and good luck tonight.
Hello, my name is Kathy DeStefano. I'm calling about the vote tonight on the enacting a moratorium on more warehouse distribution centers. I am for the moratorium. I'm concerned about the air quality in San Bernardino and the surrounding cities. I've lived here all my life, and I have seen the decline in San Bernardino, and I think this is a huge quality of life issue, and I am asking the council to vote yes for a moratorium on warehouse distribution centers. Thank you.
Hola, mi nombre es Olga Flores de la ciudad de San Bernardino y mi comentario es que ya no queremos más bodegas en la ciudad de San Bernardino. Cada vez hay más bodegas que casas privadas y esto causa que haya más tráfico, más contaminación, que las calles estén más dañadas por los troques y no es bien para nuestra ciudad, ya que nunca están haciendo algo por arreglar las calles o por darnos una mejor calidad de aire o cosas así. Ese es mi comentario. Gracias.
Hello, my name is Olga Flores from the city of San Bernardino. My comment, we don't want any more warehouses in the city of San Bernardino. There are more warehouses than private homes. Warehouses cause more traffic and air pollution. The trucks are damaging the streets, and this is not good for our city. No one is doing anything to fix our streets and helping us have better air quality. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Amy Vasquez, and I'm calling in regards to the City Council meeting. And I'd like to make a comment for the open session agenda item number 36. I try my best to make as many City Council meetings as possible, and in those meetings that I have been able to attend, I have heard every council member at one point or another express their pride or their love for San Bernardino and its residents. If those are not empty words, each of your goals as elected officials should be fighting for a future where the community can breathe clean air no matter what ward they live in. You should be working toward a San Bernardino where the community is safe and is a healthy place for us to live and work. Approving the warehouse moratorium would be the best way to show your pride and love for San Bernardino. Allowing warehousing companies to come into the city in order to pay to pollute has gone on for too long, and it should be paused today. The promise of jobs for residents is no longer good enough. We tried that and it doesn't work. Please also take into consideration that we'll soon have a fully operating international airport, and the best way to mitigate the pollution the airport brings to our community is to approve the warehouse moratorium. The residents of San Bernardino deserve better jobs and clean air. Please use your vote to support our health and the health of our families. Thank you.
Hello. This comment is for open session for item number 36. My name is Andres Garcia. I am with the People's Collective for Environmental Justice. I'm also a lifelong resident of the city of San Bernardino. I was born and raised there. I'm calling in to basically voice my support for a warehouse moratorium. It's necessary to just put a pause on things and really assess, what the effects are and what I guess the intended goal is for such fast and loose development in the city of San Bernardino. We've also understood that there's a growing concern for not just good jobs, but a clean environment. And this is basically what this moratorium should do is give pause for elected officials to assess the impact of such, lucrative development of, logistics complexes that really only attract, polluting trucks day in and day out. I know that firsthand because I grew up right next to the 210 freeway when it used to be known as the 330 freeway. And I was born with asthma, and it, had hindered me since I was a kid. So understanding, the levels of ozone and PM 2.5, that's particulate matter, that's stuff that is in the air that's thinner than a strand of hair. So these are things that are known to be at levels that are exceptionally high for the state of California. In some parcels in the city, it's at the 98th percentile for the state. So I urge folks to really support this moratorium, folks on the dais to consider the effects it has on the constituents and what it might do for the economic viability for for the future of the city. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Augustine Ledesma, and I'm a resident of San Bernardino, California. I've been a resident for 29 years, and this is a comment for the open session. And my comment is about the warehouses in the San Bernardino and the whole IE area is that the warehouses are polluting our air. And I don't know, maybe, hopefully, there could be some kind of sustainable way where it won't, contaminate our air, like maybe, like electric diesel trucks, because I think the diesel trucks are the ones that pollute the air the most. So hopefully some kind of new technology where they can have diesel trucks that doesn't pollute the air will be a solution. But, everybody needs work, so that's why there's a lot of warehouses. But hopefully, they can find a solution where, to stop polluting the air, because it's bad for the children and everybody that has breathing problems. And yeah, thank you and have a good day.
Hello, my name is Raylene Borrego. I am calling on in regards of the warehouses that are taking over our city, not even our city, just our whole county. And I'm calling to demand a warehouse moratorium that will pause all warehouse development. This is my first time calling on anything that has to do with our city or politics in general. But being born and raised here in San Bernardino, I have seen such significant warehouse development, and I cannot help but notice what has come out from warehouse development. And no, it's not jobs. Yes, jobs, but they're not the best jobs. We deserve better quality jobs. But air pollution, light pollution. I'm a runner, and I can't even run without passing by a diesel truck. They're everywhere. I live near diesel death zones, and I know San Bernardino can do better. We need to have more pride in San Bernardino. San Bernardino is a beautiful city, and it has so much potential. And if you want to get historical about it, like we were one of the main trade services, and that is important to protect. Like again, I said this is my first time calling on an issue like this. I had done a run last month to bring awareness of some of the negative things that these warehouses are bringing in. I ran 48 miles to bring that awareness, and in doing so, I've gained so much people so many followers who are interested in helping, and I also think that is a barrier that we are facing. We are being taken advantage of because we do not have the proper public education, and we are being distanced by political jargon that does not allow us to get involved. So again, we need to put a pause to the warehouses that are being developed. Riverside already made a move in pausing all their warehouse development, and we need to follow that move. Thank you, and please hear me out. San Bernardino native, our voices need to be heard, not the people who want money and do not think about what is in the interest of the people who are living here. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mrs. Bell, and I am calling regarding agenda item number 30. I have been a San Bernardino City resident for most of my life. I have seen San Bernardino go through many trials and tribulations, but one of the hardest trials and tribulations is the one we're currently facing concerning the air pollution and the overpopulation of our city with warehouses that are coming to our city. According to South Coast Air Quality and Management District, AQMD, the city of San Bernardino currently has 76 warehouses that are over 100,000 square feet, and it sees about 2,000 big rigs daily. Our city can no longer afford developers like Hillwood to buy our land cheap with the sole purpose of warehousing. As a city resident, I am requesting to support the moratorium on not allowing more warehouses to be implemented in our city until city council and residents come together to figure out a sensible solution where residents can have safe air quality and be provided with support that is needed to house warehousing of this size. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Arturo, resident and voter in San Bernardino. I'm just calling in regards to the warehouse moratorium in favor of passing it. We have enough warehouses in the IE. We don't need any more.
Hi, my name is Araceli, and I'm a resident of San Bernardino, and I'm calling in regards to the warehouse moratorium. I am in favor of passing the moratorium, and I am tired of corrupt politicians running our city.
Hello, my name is Alejandra Davila, and I live in the 5th Ward of San Bernardino. I'm calling to place a public comment for the warehouse moratorium that will be discussed today. I believe it's April 7th at the San Bernardino City Council meeting. I'm just calling in support of this moratorium. I think it's a great idea to stop the development of warehouses until we have a better idea of how this will affect the city developmentally, and also until we have a better idea and a better community benefits agreement of how this is going to impact the residents of San Bernardino. And so that's my opinion and my take, and I hope that it will be shared at the City Council meeting today. Thank you. Have a good day.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Naomi y quería pedir por una moratoria para el desarrollo de almacenes aquí en San Bernardino. El motivo para mí es porque, pues la verdad, los almacenes se están apoderando de nuestra ciudad y eso conlleva a que siga habiendo mucha contaminación. Tenemos hijos, padres, abuelos que tienen asma o condiciones de salud delicadas y eso contribuye a que ellos se empeoren, incluso puedan morir. Así que por favor les pido una moratoria para que no se sigan desarrollando más almacenes en nuestra ciudad, más que nada por nuestras vidas y las de nuestras familias. Muchas gracias.
Hello, my name is Naomi, and I would like to ask for the warehouse moratorium. Warehouses are taking over our city and our air pollution continues. We have children, parents, and grandparents with asthma and other health issues. Please, I ask for a warehouse moratorium. We don't need any more warehouses in our city. Thank you.
Hi, this is for a public comment. My name is Zafira Tejas. I'm an educator here in San Bernardino, and I am highly worried about all of the air quality that's being affected because of all of these warehouses that are opening up in our city. My ward is the first ward, so I believe my councilman is Theodore Sanchez, and so I'm highly concerned about this issue, and I support some type of moratorium to be going on or some type of stop for all these warehouses to just be taking over. I understand that they do provide jobs, but the pollution is getting too bad. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Hello, my name is Nikki Amanzadeh. I'm a citizen of San Bernardino County. I am calling because I am in support of the warehouse moratorium. I don't think that we need any more warehouses in San Bernardino city or county because we already have enough toxic pollution in the city due to the toxic industry. Thank you so much.
Hi, this comment is for today's April 7 open session, agenda item number 36, the warehouse moratorium. My name is Athena Tan, and I work at the county agency in downtown San Bernardino. I'm grateful to Council Member Reynoso for putting a warehouse moratorium on the table. I strongly support warehouse moratorium and urge you to have that conversation. The city can't move forward with any downtown redevelopment plans without fully addressing how much it relies on warehouses to economic development, but at a great cost. We have an entire generation of San Bernardino residents of the surrounding cities growing up with the pollution from logistics transportation, being trained to see warehouses as their main employment opportunity, passing from one dead-end warehouse job to another, even understanding their relationship to the city a different way because of the massive scale of warehouses. And the consequences of this, the public health impact, the impact on people's well-being, people's sense of community and belonging, the idea that people are disposable and they're to be used up, these are going to be passed down to the next generation. These are real costs. And any revisioning of the downtown area, any sustainable plans for the future require to reassess what kinds of values have been promoted through the city's economic development plans over the past 30 years. So I call on you to do that assessment now. Thank you.
Hola, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es Luz Roldán, yo vivo en San Bernardino y tengo muchas preocupaciones sobre las bodegas en la ciudad. Yo apoyo el moratorio de bodegas y quiero que la ciudad cuide la calidad de vida de los residentes. Espero escuchen mi comentario y sea para bien. Gracias.
Good afternoon. My name is Lulu Aldan. I am very concerned about the warehouses in the city. I support the warehouse moratorium. I want the city to take care of the residents' quality of life. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Peggy Hazlett. I'm a homeowner in the 5th Ward in the North Vermont community. I am speaking tonight on item 30, the award of the nuisance abatement service agreement to CEMEX Corporation for the removal of the concrete pile on North Palm Avenue. My home is located just south of the property, and we as a family have had a front row seat to the ongoing saga of the Palm Avenue project. As a community, we are grateful for the persistence and dedication to us from both our former council member, Henry Nickel, and our current council member, Ben Reynoso. This catastrophic issue was not their fault, and yet we demand results to correct the issue. I am so grateful that Councilmember Reynoso was able to successfully carry the ball over the goal line for our community. I am now asking for the balance of the dais to support item 30 and appropriate the $2 million from the city's undesignated general funds reserve to support this project. We have lived with this health hazard for long enough. Every opportunity was afforded the current developer to remedy the unpermitted construction debris pile hauled to the site from the burned-down Amazon building in Redlands. This should have never happened, and the city must take the appropriate measures to ensure that it never happens again to any residential neighborhood in our city. $2 million is a great deal of money that could be better spent in our city. Unfortunately, it has to be spent on this. The city of San Bernardino and you as our elected officials are responsible to us as your constituents. Mistakes were made by staff on this project. Now it is time to fix those mistakes. I urge all of you to approve item 30. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this matter. I am so looking forward to the day that we're back with in-person meetings. Hopefully that happens soon. Thank you all.
Hi, my name is Michael Segura. I'm a leader with ICUC and San Bernardino Generation Now. I'm calling for open session in regards to the warehouse moratorium. I believe it is needed in a community like San Bernardino where empty warehouses, are everywhere. We still haven't filled those up, yet we still want to develop more. When you're looking at the future of warehouses, things are going to become automated, meaning these jobs that they're promising us aren't forever. So we're going to give up our land, which is a huge resource, right, for something that's not sustainable for future generations. I know a lot of you on the council are older. You might not care about this, but I care deeply because I have a young daughter who's just turning 1. So I don't want to see her future for San Bernardino ruined, right? I'm sure she'll move out, though, by the time it's that destroyed. If you guys have no clue about what's happening with the warehouses, there's a really good documentary from PBS Frontline called Amazon Empire, The Rise and Reign of Jeff Bezos. If you watch that, you're going to learn a lot about the technologies happening with companies like Amazon, and a lot of other warehouses are looking to Amazon to purchase the same technologies and the same robotics. So just be wary of that and vote for the moratorium so we could just put a halt to warehouses for now as we look for other economic means of survival as a city. Thank you. Bye.
Hi, my name's Janet Haro, and I am talking about the warehouse moratorium that the San Bernardino City Council will be voting on. And I'm here to talk about how displeased I am in the county and how they are not taking this seriously and how this is impacting the health of very vulnerable people whose health is going to be severely impacted due to all the warehouses that are being built in San Bernardino County. There is disproportionately amount of Latino people, Black communities, as well as other minorities that live in San Bernardino, and it is unfair that these warehouses are taking over and creating bad quality in just the city in general. This needs to be stopped, and there needs to be a warehouse moratorium placed in effect. Thank you.
Hello, I'm calling in regards to support for the warehouse moratorium for the open session meeting. My name is Tina Avalos Morgan with the San Bernardino Airport Communities. I'm calling to share an update. Last month, San Bernardino City Council approved yet another warehouse to develop right across the airport. In a 5-2 vote, the council approved San Bernardino's proposal for a 1 million square foot fulfillment center despite hearing hours of public comment testifying in opposition over the environmental and job quality concerns. The community made it clear that they do not want another warehouse if it comes at the expense of people's health and livelihood. Councilmember Ben Reynosa has introduced the need for a citywide warehouse moratorium, which would put a pause on a new warehouse development. The council members will be voting at the next city council meeting on Wednesday, April 7th, on whether to begin the initial study phase of a citywide moratorium. We need to let the council members know that we don't need more warehouses, that we are just going to bring more pollution and lack of good sustainable jobs. We have seen how City officials have promised that Eastgate will bring high-paying aviation jobs, and this is not the case. We need stronger guarantees. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Samuel Rodriguez. I'm calling to make a public comment on agenda item number 36. It is time for real progress in this city. I support the proposed moratorium on stopping warehouse development in San Bernardino. It is evident that warehouses will not be the economic powerhouse that will uplift our community. With automation right at our doorstep, it is now more important than ever to move away from the warehouse and logistics industry. We need to invest in our community the right way and prepare our youth for the future by investing in school programs such as computer science, solar technologies, electric auto mechanics, and other technological careers. Our community has much more potential than just warehouse jobs. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor John Valdivia, City Council members, staff, and the general public. My name is Gabriel Jaramillo, born and raised in San Bernardino, currently living in the 5th Ward. This statement is for open session with an item not on the agenda. On Wednesday, March 17th, during the regular session meeting, I overheard a statement made by Mayor John Valdivia which made my jaw drop and hit the floor hard. It was a statement aimed toward Councilman Theodore Sanchez in regards to how the 1st Ward looks in the city. Yes, you were telling him to get some work done and make it better, but why only that word? Stop saying your words were misquoted. You have done this in the past with Sanchez, saying the same words at prior meetings, but I guess this one got the best of the residents. If it weren't for Councilman Alexander to speak up for an apology, this would have went on like nothing happened or was said like prior meetings. I get it. Councilman Sanchez said some things that were not supposed to be said, and Mayor John Valdivia right away punched back at Sanchez, intending to make Sanchez look bad. But in a heated moment, Mr. Mayor, you forgot this would hit you back as you spoke bad about the ward you represent as the face of this city. Most of us would say things we don't mean in a heated moment, not knowing the consequences it may bring. Just know I was raised in Ward 1, the west side of San Bernardino. I have friends and family that still live there. And for you to think that you are better than anyone else in Ward 1 is just insane. You struck me hard when you said those words about Ward 1, as well as others who know what it is like to live in Ward 1, which I do. I speak for the rest of the people in Ward 1, and I back Theodore Sanchez for what he goes through with you as the mayor. Constant bashing of your councilman is not the leadership this city needs right now. Bashing wards in this city is definitely not what the city needs in the mayor. Real leadership is what the city needs. And your time is almost up, Mr. Mayor. Show us what you can do for the city as a mayor and a true leader and help get the city fixed up. If not, let real leaders lead. This next message is for Theodore Sanchez, Councilman, Don't sit there idle, Mr. Councilman of Ward 1. You were voted in to represent your ward, and the people are counting on you to do just that. Protect your ward from a man like Valdivia. Don't let him make Ward 1 look bad. Work for the people you represent. We are counting on you. Thank you, and have a great meeting.
Hi, my name is Christian Flores. I'm a resident of the 1st Ward and representative of San Bernardino Generation Now, ICU soon, i.e. Dualistas. My comment is in regards to the San Bernardino citywide warehouse moratorium for open session. I support a San Bernardino citywide warehouse moratorium because I believe no more warehouses should be built without adequate community involvement and a framework that leads to local jobs, clean air emissions technology, and community benefits funding that can help give us a fighting chance of improving our terrible air quality at the bare minimum. Development should not happen in this city without community benefits agreements, and get used to hearing it, because a future without them speaks to the equivalent of our people and our children being disposable. I have not been able to trust the city to do the bare minimum for our community's health for a long time. Generations of my own nieces and nephews are growing up here with declining air quality, some already dealing with respiratory issues, without taking into account the increased risk of cancer and additional respiratory diseases. Frankly, this isn't acceptable. If we aren't actively challenging ourselves and striving to make things better for our current community, we are allowing for things to get worse, and that shouldn't be an option for us. I call on you to not only be leaders, but champions for our community that really fight for us. Otherwise, you've lost us by continuing to slowly but surely kill us. This is essentially a repeated message from the last time I submitted public comments, but the message still stands. And I don't think that we should be developing any more warehouses without true community engagement and involvement in the process, and making sure that our health and our needs come first. Thank you for your time, and I hope you really do what's best for us.
Hi, I'm calling in regards to the City of San Bernardino approving another warehouse to be developed right across from the airport. The community has made it clear that they do not want another warehouse if it comes at the expense of the people's health and livelihood. My name is Sharon Williams. I'm a taxpayer and a resident of San Bernardino, California. And I am opposed to all these warehouses that the City of San Bernardino is allowing to be built. They don't provide good jobs, good paying jobs for the community. They tear up our roads, and we get nothing back from them. They pay no taxes. The people in the city are suffering. Please stop allowing these warehouses to be built.
Hello, this is Sunny Ivy. I'm calling as a concerned citizen. I am in support of the moratorium on warehouses in San Bernardino. I have strong evidence and beliefs to think that the actual impact of the warehouse expansion in San Bernardino in the county is actually quite detrimental for environmental quality in this area. I don't think the impact assessment report can truly I think they underestimate the impact of increasing the amount of diesel truck trips into and away from these warehouses, which is exacerbating the already pretty severe air quality that we have here in the South Coast Air Basin, specifically near San Bernardino, which includes one of the 8617 disadvantaged communities. And so you're doing the community a disservice by continuing to draw truck trips to this area without a concerted effort to incorporate electric infrastructure. You're only continuing toward the demise of environmental quality and health for the citizens that live in and around these warehouses. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Jody Eisenberg. I'm a resident of the city of San Bernardino. I'm calling regarding the open session item number 36, Councilmember Reynoso's request to agendize a citywide moratorium on warehouse construction. I fully support putting that matter on future agenda and that it be discussed thoroughly as a focus of our city. We have enough warehouses, and it's time to figure out another way to support our city without expanding the warehouse industry beyond where it currently is. So yay, so please, I urge City Council members to vote in support of agendizing item 36 on a future City Council agenda. Thank you.
Yes, this is Harry Hatch, Ward 7, resident of San Bernardino. To the Mayor and City Council, good evening. I want you to think fireworks, 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 and fireworks. it can be talked about. You need to bring it to the agenda. You need to discuss the information that you have been provided, which will allow you to enforce the city ordinances which have already been passed. The PD and the fire department need your help. I cite you section 1222 of the Government Code, State of California. The failure or omission to do your job is a misdemeanor. By failing to even discuss it, you could be in violation of that section. Please, you have the information. It's been provided to you. At least look at it and talk about it. Get it on the agenda. Thank you very much.
Open session. Robert Porter, fourth generation, living in San Bernardino, and Commissioner on the Arts and Historical Preservation. About the mayor and city staff taking such a cool in my radio show. That's awesome. If you guys want to call in, please do. It's every Monday at 7 p.m. on KCAA NBC. It's called the I Love Bernardino County radio show. Everyone's welcome to listen, and if you'd like to post on it, this goes to all the council members, which a lot of them have been guests, you're welcome to come on. I'd also like to talk about, better attendance at our meetings. I believe that the mayor missed or left early to the last 5 meetings. Not good. We really need people in those seats, and that's why we pay you the money to be there. So please make sure we have better attendance. I'm retrofitting City Hall with Biden's infrastructure plan by making it shovel-ready and getting that proposal to Congressman Pete Aguilar as soon as possible. We might be able to get extra money off more than the $80 million we got if we get this done right away. It'll be an easy project to get shovel-ready, so let's get City Hall retrofitted, and let's have Pete Aguilar, our congressman, help us do it. And I'm looking forward to the integrity standards and campaign finance reform that should be coming up for a vote soon. I think this is a start in getting San Bernardino on the right track. I do believe that the pay-for-play is well in our city, and I'd like that to stop. So this is Robert Porter with I Love San Bernardino, and I love y'all, team. Good luck.
Yo, my name is Nick. I live in the 4th Ward, and this message is for public comment for the open session. I am just reaching out to say that I am in the firmest support of a warehouse moratorium in the city of San Bernardino. I think that the pollution in this city, the air quality, it's just getting out of control. We need to stop the building of warehouses. We need to stop the approval of them and figure this out before we approve any more. I think there are a lot of ways to stimulate our economy, and just building more and more warehouses, that's not the answer, you guys. I mean, look at the wealthy areas near us. Look at other Inland Empire cities that are economically in a better place, like Rancho Cucamonga and Redlands. You go to those nice neighborhoods over there, and you're not going to see warehouses all over the place with these Amazon trucks just coming in and out. That's just not happening in every truck that's passing through there, and there are so many of these. It's polluting our air. I mean, we're giving kids asthma. We don't know what this is doing to the kids in our community, or our community's elderly. I mean, we don't know what kind of crazy lung diseases people are going to start to get in 10 years or 20 years from now. And then, I know the proponents of these warehouses saying, let's just get these warehouses in there. It's jobs. They see economic development. And while it is a form of economic development, I ask you, is it the best form of economic development? I mean, the jobs that are in these warehouses are by no means the best. I think that what you guys did with the Carousel Mall property was one of the best things that this council has done in a very long time. I think we need more of that. I think there are more creative things we can bring to this city besides warehouses. I think we should be pushing for things that bring people into San Bernardino. I mean, I'm still waiting to see what's going to happen at that wonderful Arrowhead Hotel. I mean, we need things that are going to revitalize our image as the heart of Southern California, as a Route 66 town, a former All-America city. I mean, there's so much history here, and I just think that warehouses they're ruining our city. So we got to have a moratorium. We got to press the pause button and just figure out what we're going to do moving forward. Thank you for your time. I hope you're going to make the right decision.
Yes, I'm calling for Hardy Brown, a 6th Ward resident of San Bernardino for about 65 years almost. At your last regular meeting, Congressman Pete Aguilar gave you a very informative presentation on the American Rescue Plan and that San Bernardino would be getting $84 million plus. He emphasized that San Bernardino was getting more than other cities of similar size because of the poverty rate and other factors used in the criteria established by the federal government. He also went on to stress the need for transparency and local citizen involvement on how this money is used. I want to remind you of the local citizen involvement because I have the impression from council members Calvin and Reynoso that people living in their wards do not have the rights to represent local interests. Take, for example, their appointment of Daniel Peden to the Public Safety and Human Relations Commission by Reynoso, and then Daniel Peden to the General Plan Advisory Committee by Calvin. The reason I conclude that Peden is a resident of the 7th Ward and is an employee of Assemblymember Eloise Reyes, who lives in Grand Terrace. There are other appointees by these two with ties back to the Assemblymember. A question for you to think about is, whose interest are you representing, the people who elected you or an Assembly member? I want to remind Calvin that you ran on the slogan, a leader for the people. Put your community first, according to your campaign material. That was just a campaign statement to the people in the 6th Ward to get their votes. Some people in the community are saying you do not live in the 6th Ward or the city. That's not my issue at the moment, but your lack of commitment to fully represent the taxpayers in the ward you represent is. Now you and Reynoso and your supporters are saying you ran to represent the interests of the citizens other than those in your ward. To my knowledge, the general plan that Peden will serve on will be a blueprint on how the city will grow, develop in 7 elements. That's land use, transportation, conservation, noise, open space, safety, and housing. The citizens of the 6th Ward will not have any input or say of these 7 key elements of planning in the city that they will pay taxes and they live in. Please remember why you ran and who are you supposed to represent, which is not those who worked in your campaign or put you up to run in the first place. This is Hardy Brown, 6th Ward, San Bernardino.
This is a public comment for Treasurer Ortiz for tonight's open session. I have a few questions, Council, if you could please help address these issues. We are now 1 month into your approval of the downtown redevelopment with RVICO, and I want to know where we are at with the community benefit agreement meetings with the community, as well as community outreach for the update on the general plan. I see people being assigned to the advisory committee, but when are we going to get the public involved? I also want to show my support for item number 9. I think this is an excellent idea. We are really just cleaning up the mess of the mayor and his puppets from 2 years ago when they changed the municipal code. You have to have checks and balances, and we are seeing the detriment of allowing employees to play patty cake with council members and the mayor for special projects behind the back of the city manager. Number 3, I want to support the moratorium on the warehousing, but only until we complete the general plan update. I think that it's a good idea to hold off until we see where we want to zone for warehouses in our city, because people bought with the expectations they were going to be living in single-family residence developments, and now all of a sudden here are all these warehouses. The big one for me is also the OXBO. Who is accountable? This is what I want to know. Who in the city will be held accountable for the $2 million expense that the taxpayers are now funding? because none of this happened by accident. There's a reason why this cement was dropped off, and there was an inability to grind it. And now we need to know, the taxpayers need to know, who is accountable for this. Because I don't care if the city says they're going to recoup once the property is sold and there's a lien on it. Too much went down for even this to be allowed. So, Council, if you could please help me answer those questions, it would be much appreciated. Thank you. Oh, additionally, my bad, the op-ed by the mayor, John, you are absolutely as equally delusional as you are a liar. Stop being a victim when you are literally the villain in the story of what's going on in the city of San Bernardino. You called the first word disgusting. You said it was based on your own observations. And there is no this invisible boogeyman called the old guard chasing you around the city. That's your conscience telling you that you're evil and you need to resign to make the city of San Bernardino better. That's the only way San Bernardino will see any positivity change is when you're gone. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Miriam Nieto. I live in the 6th Ward, west side of San Bernardino. I am calling in regards to the moratorium, and I am calling for you guys to please vote yes on this moratorium. The reason being is whether we are for or against warehouses, this is a step in the right direction to analyze what is at stake, and it's a good step in the right direction to listen to our community and process and plan for what is to come and how we want to see our city develop. This moratorium will give us an important moment to think about our future and really, really spend some time thinking about how we want to build for our kids and for our community. I think that this is something that we need, that the community has always needed, and I am glad that it's something that is being proposed now, and I hope that you guys vote yes on it. Thank you. Bye.
Hello, council members. I'm calling on behalf of the agenda item 14 for the City Council meeting tonight. I'm calling to ask for the approval of agenda item 14, the approval of the landing by San Manuel, be contingent on community benefits agreements. I urge you to strongly consider the cumulative impacts on residents and require a strong community benefits agreement because the volume trucks that come in and out of the warehouses on a daily basis, emissions become concentrated in close proximity to neighborhoods and schools. We're asking for an air filtration system installation funded by the developer. We're also asking for operational emissions mitigation. We are also asking for emission reduction and zero emissions technology requirements and exploration of land development opportunities in other growing sectors that bring stable employment like health care. We are also asking to trails be constructed on north side of property as detailed on the various agency plans and is the alignment of the city creek itself. For these reasons, we are asking and demanding a CPA in support of the warehouse moratorium that has been proposed. The city of San Bernardino is being sold out to the logistics industry at the cost of our community's members' quality of life. My name is Ella Marquez. I am the executive director at Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice, and I highly oppose and are asking for all these benefits. Thank you.
My name is Jack Pruitt. I'm a resident of San Bernardino City in the 7th Ward. I'm calling concerning the warehouse moratorium. I am in favor of the warehouse moratorium in that I'm noticing that the city, everywhere I turn, I'm just seeing warehouses. We used to be the all-American city, and we're turning into the all-warehouse city. We really do need to step back, see where we're going, and decide what we want to do with this city. We are the county seat, and we're supposed to show how great our county is and how great our city is. And by showing warehouses, we're doing neither. So that is my comment, and it is for the open meeting. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Faraz Rizvi, and I'm speaking on agenda item 14, the approval of the land by San Manuel warehouse. And I just want to say that the City Council needs to make sure that contingent upon the approval of this warehouse or this warehousing project is mitigation of the environmental impacts, as well as a community benefit agreement that benefits all residents in the area. One thing that I really want to make sure to comment is that, these warehouses have been coming in and just, people say they're bringing jobs, and they're bringing jobs. And the reality is they're bringing temporary and low-paying jobs that don't pay a living wage in our communities. We need a sustainability of jobs that contributes to working families, quality of life, and a healthy community. And I ask that we look at land development opportunities in other growing sectors that bring stable employment, like healthcare. The Inland Empire has a shortage of healthcare workers, and it's a good industry that could help many in our community with the health impacts that they're already going through because of the pollution from these warehouses and the diesel emissions. So I ask that the City Council approve a community benefits agreement if they do choose to approve this warehouse. Thank you.
Hello, this is Linda Magallanes. I would like to leave a public comment for tonight's meeting. And this comment is that about the $2 million to clean up the Oxbox project, and would like to know who is being held accountable about that. Why do we need to spend $2 million on that? And another thing that I have to mention is about the warehouse moratorium. We need a moratorium until general plan is complete. If you please can listen to our concerns as a community, please let us know what is it that we're going to do with the redevelopment and general plan for the downtown. There is lots of concerns about that too. You are welcome to give me a call back or send me an email. 951-335-1712. I would like to speak to the mayor and just show him my concern about those $2 million that are being used for these Oxnard project, Oxbow project. I'm not in agreement with that. Thank you.
Hello, this is Carol Baez, and I am addressing Agenda Item 336, an open session. This public comment is in regard to the warehouse moratorium. As a resident and San Bernardino teacher, it is disheartening to see so many warehouses take up land that could be offered to the community. My current school is moving to another location, but the site is being replaced with yet another warehouse. It is unfortunate to see the warehouse being built to the left and right of my current school site. I do not want my students to be limited to this one workforce in the future. I ask for more input from the community and eco-friendly improvements for the current warehouses. I do not need more potholes to my commute from more 18-wheelers. Please take this warehouse moratorium in consideration. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Adonis Galarza. I hope this message finds you well. Hello, council members. I'm calling to ask the approval of Agenda Item 14 and the approval of the landing by San Manuel be contingent on community benefit agreements. I urge you to strongly consider the cumulative impacts on residents and require strong community benefits agreements because the volume trucks that come in concentrated in close proximity to neighborhoods and schools, placing immense health risks on families who live nearby. With the approval of another warehouse in this community, we need to see community benefit agreement that works for all community members who will be impacted. This is already an environmental justice community that is in highly concentrated area of warehouses and truck traffic. According to CARB, this project is adjacent to a census tract within the top 5% for pollution burden in CAL's EnviroScreen and is considered a disadvantaged community. The EIR also chronicles that there will be significant impact from this project in terms of air quality and noise, yet full mitigation has not been identified or alleged to be infeasible. We don't want jobs that are temporary and pay lower than a living wage in our communities. We need sustainability of jobs that contribute to working families, quality of life, and a healthy economy. These reasons are why we are demanding a CBA and support the warehouse moratorium that has been proposed. The city of San Bernardino is being sold out to the logistics industry at the cost of our community members' quality of life.
Hello, my name is Marvin Norman. I'm a resident and the executive director of the Internet Powered Lightning Alliance. This message is for the open session, item number 14 on the agenda. I'm calling because we would like to express our opposition to this item. The project is proceeding against the city's policies and plans that are in place. The policies that have been in place for several years, and the plan sale that is for the area has not been adequately included in the project design. As can be seen in the city's general plan, the trail is supposed to be there. As can be seen in the SDCTA's plan, the trail is planned for that location. And while, yes, there are bike lanes on 3rd Street, bike lanes are not a trail. The trail is not supposed to not replace the trail, and so the project needs to provide the trail that is, or at least the space for the trail that is included in all plans. This is in accordance with the policies of the city itself, which has set forth that same expectation that projects that are adjacent planned trails would at least provide the space for the trail if they do not build the trail itself. They also do prefer that the project rebuild the trail itself as part of the development. So it's unfortunate and a disappointment to see that this project is moving forward without doing that. Additionally, given that the project is way over its allotted amount for VMC, this is a vital area that the city and the project applicant to help lower VMC for the project by providing a additional way for people to get around that does not rely on a single occupant vehicle. So it's really in the best interest for the city and the project applicant to move forward with this trail and included in the project, because to not do so is to go against many policies and to make it even more expensive and harder to maintain compliance in the future. So again, we're in opposition to item 14 as it currently exists. The project needs to account for the trail that is on the plan, and it needs to be built as part of the project. Thank you for your time.
My name is Amber Vasquez, and I was calling to leave a comment about the warehouse moratorium in San Bernardino. I fully support it. I think we need a warehouse moratorium immediately. I've lived in San Bernardino my entire life. My family's been here for a few generations, and I and all of my siblings, my 3 siblings, were all diagnosed with asthma in childhood. It's something that we still deal with. My mom also has asthma, and I have just watched my family over the years become sick with, we have a lot of cancer in our family, a lot of asthma in our family, and it's all due to the development and environmental racism that's so prevalent in our area. Brown and black and other people of color shouldn't be penalized for structural oppression. Like, we live here because this is our home. This is either where we had to settle or we wanted to settle. We've chosen to stay here. And it's time that our elected officials do their jobs, and instead of focusing on trying to bring money in that the rest of us never see, what you guys should be doing is trying to protect our health, both through the environment and other methods. When I was growing up, the area was very rural. The air was cleaner. There were more open and green spaces. and that's rapidly changing. Traffic is getting worse. There are so many more cars on the road. There are so many more warehouses, which increases, big rig traffic. That all needs to stop. You're killing us. By approving these warehouses, you're killing us.
And that concludes public comments.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. City Clerk. Moving on to our staff reports, this is item number 8, Animal Services Update. The recommendations are fourfold and it's there before you. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, City Council. The report on this item is going to be presented by Chris Watson, the Animal Services Director. This is generally a really positive report. Can't wait to hear it. So, Chris, if you would please take it from here. You're muted. Chris, you're muted.
I apologize for that. Thank you so much for the introduction and good evening, Mayor and members of Council. The item before you this evening is an update on the Department of Animal Services. Beginning in 2019, Council approved several measures to address critical repairs needed at the animal shelter in an effort to reduce the spread of disease and risk of injury to animals and shelter staff. To date, the following repairs have been completed. We installed vapor barrier fencing and grate covers over the drains in the dog quarantine area in order to comply with California Veterinary Medical Board regulations. Soon after that project was completed, the mold remediation, reconstruction, and painting was completed in the main animal shelter building, which houses customer service counters where all transactions at the shelter take place. Contractors completed roof replacement throughout the entire facility, and a fresh coat of paint was applied to the exterior of the main building. Most of the trenching and site preparation for an electrical upgrade has been completed. However, due to an increased demand for materials and supplies, the electrical transformers and associated equipment have been delayed. The expected delivery and installation date is this June. Once this project is completed, we'll be able to proceed with the installation of industrial equipment approved as part of the mid-year budget. This will help us sanitize and launder bedding and dishes at the shelter. The heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system upgrades have been completed on the cat sanctuary. This small change will make a huge difference to the feline population, reducing the spread of disease and stress, especially during the summer, which is typically when we see an increase in the number of cats and kittens impounded at the facility. It should also be noted that the city was awarded funding through the San Bernardino County CARES Act infrastructure program for this project, covering half of the total project costs, or $34,888, offsetting a portion of the costs associated with this upgrade. Recently, staff identified an emergency need to relocate animal shelter staff out of the existing modular office due to the deterioration of the structural integrity of the building. As an emergency action, staff was temporarily relocated in office space at the city's corporate yard. Due to the need to expedite the replacement, initial costs of $31,160 were absorbed by the Facilities and Maintenance Division's operating budget. The investment the city has made to date in repairs to the current facility have been successful in remedying the most urgent needs of the department. As we look towards the future, it is apparent that significant additional investment is needed to support the shelter and increase the positive impact the department can make for humans and animals in the city. In December of 2020, the city was invited by the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians to apply for a grant to assist in further repairs of the current facility, initiate the process of replacement for the current facility, and expand services so that we may better serve our residents and their animals. City staff was notified on Friday, March 19th, that the San Manuel Band of Mission Indians had approved the grant application in the amount of $1.5 million to be dispersed over 3 fiscal years, starting with the current fiscal year and concluding in fiscal year 2022-23. This will allow us to further expand programs and services to the population. And this concludes my presentation this evening. I would be happy to address any questions you have at this time.
Thank you very much, Chris. We appreciate your leadership, and it's an excellent report. The benefits to the community, certainly from San Manuel, on the 1.5 million. Now, question for you, is it 3 fiscal years beginning this year? So 3 divided by 1.5 is
$500,000 for each fiscal year.
and is that applied this year? Do we get that
Yes, the first amount would be dispersed this fiscal year.
this fiscal year and through 22, 23?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, very good. Good job and excellent report, and we thank you for your leadership. We'll open it up to Councilmember Reynoso, then Councilmember Charette. Go ahead, sir.
I'm just going to make a motion to approve.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Councilman Figueroa. Thank you, sir. Councilman Charette, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I was going to move or second or something, but I'm going to vote in favor. And are we doing this all 4 items?
All at once, yes.
All at once.
Yep.
And I just want to, we've just listened to a lot of comments, public comments about community benefits. And I don't know what $1.5 million over 3 years, I want to know if that qualifies as a community benefit agreement. No, technically not. It's a grant. And the San Manuel tribe is a community benefit. In and of itself, it's a community benefit to this community and has been and will continue to be. And I'm pleased to receive it and thank them very much for it. Chris, great report. We've come so far from what not all of us remember, but at least you, Mayor, and I, and a couple of others maybe remember an audience full of people that came from miles around criticizing us and our shelter. And we're certainly not out of the woods. We certainly have a long way to go, but you've along with all the help of staff and everybody else that's involved, have really turned this thing around. And so, again, I'm pleased to call for the question and vote in favor of this.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. We appreciate it. Ms. City Clerk, we have a motion and a second. If you'd please call the roll.
Councilmember Sanchez?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa?
Yes.
Councilmember Charette?
Yes.
Councilmember Reynoso?
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin?
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you very much. This is item number 9, administrative policies. It's a threefold recommendation to our council. Council members, you've studied your material and will seek a brief presentation from our city manager. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, thank you. This is the first set of policies that are going to be brought forward pursuant to permission that was provided to staff by the council a few weeks ago. The presentation of the policies themselves is actually going to be done by Rebecca Kramer, but we are standing by to answer questions or address any other issues that come up. So with that.
Thank you, Council or Mr. City Manager. I apologize. I think we're on a roll here. Councilman Reynoso, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I reviewed it and I appreciate everything in it, but I'd like to make a motion to approve it without letter D that states the mayor, city council, city manager, and staff will not blindside each other in public. I think we know what we signed up for, and I don't know how you expect to hold someone accountable to that, but to be honest with you, it's pretty laughable to me that we would write something like that down. What does that even look like? We just have to respect each other. So I motion to approve without letter D because to me that's ridiculous. It's politics.
Councilmember Reynoso, if I may add, I certainly respect your thoughts on that. I will tell you that is in the municipal code at present. So I just wanted you to be aware that it's already existing in our municipal code.
To not blindside?
That
is
like? The language that is in the municipal code, yes.
Councilman Charette, go ahead, sir.
Well, maybe we need to define blindside. And if that isn't done, then maybe I can do it. And that is coming out of nowhere and hitting someone upside the head with a question or a concern or a criticism, whatever. And I find that extremely unprofessional. And we all of us have a that's been one of the issues that I'm so concerned with about us all working together and not blindsiding anybody or any gotcha moments. So the thing that so I won't support that part of it. I think it's appropriate that we write into our policies and procedures that we don't blindside people. I agree with you, council member, that we're professionals and hopefully we are, and we can respect one another and treat each other with respect. But and it shouldn't have to be. It's common courtesy. But when you want to take it out, then that concerns me. And it's kind of like leaving the door open that if I ever have an opportunity to blindside, yeah, I might. The problem I have with this thing is this the use of the city seal. We've dealt with this. I, of course, have been dealing with this for many years because I've been here longer than anybody. And I believe that the city seal is absolutely sacred and it should be used only in one form. And I don't support in any way, shape, or form customizing it to individual uses. I've been thinking about this from a printer standpoint, and I'm not going to educate people on how we can save money printing, and perhaps I've been out of the business long enough that maybe it's not even a factor, and that we do a lot of it through IT and not so much putting the stuff actually on a printing press. But there was a day when we would have printed up, like, say, 100,000 letterheads with the city seal on it, and then store them and then imprint as needed. And that's a cost-saving mechanism from the printing side. But beyond that, I just don't support, and it's in the municipal code. I don't believe in changing the municipal code on this particular item, that we customize these. Now everyone's going to have their own logo. I get that. I understand everybody wants to have that. I don't agree with it, and I won't support that part of the program. So I guess right now I'm not supporting the item number 1 or the or D under wherever Council Member Reynoso was talking about.
So let me help you.
Is that
Fred.
a motion? Is that a motion, Council Member?
Hold on.
Yes, I'll make that motion that it be
Okay.
that not be approved.
Second.
So Fred, to be clear here, you're supportive of items 2 and 3 as stated, but not 1. Is that your motion?
I need some help. My memory isn't good from when I went through the product. What Councilmember Reynoso was referring to an item D of what item? Item 3D?
It was item 3, yes. And
3D.
3D.
Subsection D.
Okay,
Yes.
so the plain version would be to continue with staff recommendation on 2 and 3 as stated. Is that your motion, Councilman?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That would be fine, and I'll make that motion.
Councilman Sanchez, you second that? All right, sir. Is there any further discussion on passage of 2 and 3? And then we'll table, or we'll talk about item number 1, but this is a moment to talk about items 2 and 3 on agenda item number 9. Any further council members? If not, we'll take okay, Council Member Ibarra, go ahead, ma'am.
Can we just vote for them separately, 1, 2, and 3 separately?
There's a motion on the floor. So Council Member Figueroa, go ahead, sir.
Can I make that substitute motion then, that we vote on these 3 separately?
We're trying. Is there support for that?
Yes.
Okay, so let's separate the items then. Item number 2, any further discussion on item 2 or 3? Councilman Figueroa, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. For item number 3, I believe that's the, and let me look it up real quick. That's the interaction with the
city involvement.
City involvement. Okay, the elected officials. I just need some clarification on that, Mr. City Manager. As far as elected officials interacting with city staff, I certainly, of course, do support that. But I need some clarification as far as interaction with, of course, council staff. It seems rather absurd that council members would still have to go through the city manager's office in order to obtain assistance with council staff when that is their job and purpose to support and assist council members. Can we get some clarification on that, please?
Yeah, that's not really the intention. The primary issue comes down to department heads receiving direction from council members directly, as opposed to inquiries. I mean, the intention is to ensure that we don't go through, we don't end up in a process where council members or the mayor are directing staff to do certain things. And answering questions is always okay, but giving direction it runs contrary to the charter and to the municipal code. So that's the primary intention. I don't think it was our intention to limit interaction with the city council, the staff who are dedicated to city council services. Rebecca, did I miss anything in that? I think that's really the intention.
No, and council staff is really good about keeping us informed if there are issues that we need to assist with or be aware of that it's being requested by council. So I don't see that being an issue, and it's not contrary to what's presented.
Could I comment on that?
Well, can someone else?
Oh, hold on. Councilman Figueroa, does that conclude your remarks?
Yeah, I mean, that was really the biggest concern regarding interaction with staff, because it seems as though that's their primary purpose, is to support the council. And then, of course, in the mayor's office as well, it's the mayor's staff. So that was really my clarification, or my need for clarification on that. How does this affect anybody acting as a surrogate to a council member or a volunteer to a council member? Does this exclude them from also being able to do the same?
Yes. The bottom line is that, as the charter reads, we are in a city manager, city council form of government, and the intention here is to reinforce that, restate some elements of the municipal code, for example, in the charter, to make it abundantly clear that the proper avenue for providing direction. This is not, again, request for information are one thing, direction is another thing entirely. And this is it's very clear in all the legal documents that support the city in its structure that direction is to come from the city manager's office, with the exception of the city attorney and the city clerk, who are appointed separately. So this is essentially a restatement of those other policies and procedures that are located elsewhere.
No more questions.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. Councilman Charette, and then we'll go to Councilman Alexander. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I think hopefully this will add a little clarification. I think the intent here is really to give our staff an out if they feel like they're being torn or directed by too many people in too many directions, or asked to do things that might not be appropriate. Certainly, I had a request for some IT maps. I called, I got them, no problem. I wasn't giving them direction, I requested them. Now, what they did behind the scenes as far as checking with the city manager or IT, I don't really care. I got my maps that I needed. So it really, I think it's really more for the benefit of the staff, so that they don't have 7 council members, or pulling them in 7 different directions, or giving them 7 different requests. So that's all. I understand it, but we are a city manager form of government. Every employee works for the city manager. We decided this a while back with our city staff. We used to have somebody in there, Jorge Carlos, that was really kind of the office manager, if you will, and things kind of went through him. But we don't have that anymore. Maybe we'll get to the point where we have that down the road sometime. But so anyway, I think as long as we're just asking reasonable requests from our staff, we won't have any problem receiving the support we need.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. Councilman Alexander, go ahead, sir.
I was finding the same as Councilman Figueroa, some kind of not clarity. And since we do work for the public, those are our bosses. And when we get requests from our bosses, the public, and we try to make changes for the public, this seems to make it a little bit more difficult least for us, let me not speak for anybody else. At least for me, my boss is the public, by instituting such restrictions on when we're trying to do what we've been elected to do. And to make it a little clearer and less nebulous would be good on my part, on our part as a council. That's all I have to say.
Okay, so Councilmember Calvin and then Councilmember Reynoso, go ahead.
Yes, I'd like some clarity on 4F. The mayor and city council will refer citizen complaints to staff and give them adequate time to respond. Staff will report back to council through the city manager on the resolutions of these complaints. We all receive emails forwarded to us that are CC'd to the city manager, maybe addressing the city manager first and then the council member second. So are we saying then that the city manager is going to respond to all of those citizen complaints? Because from what I'm understanding from community members, there is no response. So are we not allowed to respond to the constituent when we have been CC'd or included in that email?
So, Councilmember Calvin, if I may, certainly the way that the policy reads now is simply a reiteration of what is in your municipal code as it currently stands. You are certainly welcome to communicate with your constituents, encouraged to do so. That is what you were elected to do, and we are not suggesting that you not have that communication. What we are saying is that staff should be responsible for the responding to the work that needs to be done, or identifying what it would take to address the issue and communicating that information through the city manager in response and follow up with you. So rather than you following up with them and giving them that detailed information, we want to make sure that we're looking into the matter, that we're following up on it, and that we're communicating through the city manager, or the city manager is giving direction to staff to follow up. So it's certainly not an issue that you shouldn't receive inquiries from your constituents, that you shouldn't have communication with them, but simply the way that we interact, and that there's not a sense that staff are being directed by any individual council member to do work outside of direction coming from the city manager. You establish the goals or the policy within the city, and the city manager is called to implement those policies and direct staff to achieve that goal. So simply what we're restating in terms of the structure that's in place and communicating through the city manager and having the city manager provide that direction to staff.
So in a email where everyone is CC'd, is the city manager going to respond? Who is to respond to that email from a constituent?
It really depends on the nature of the issue. It will be, if it's an issue regarding something that's within the realm of public works, then it will be referred to the public works director and her staff for a response. Similar to community and economic development, that'll be the communication chain, the direction chain from the city manager's office. It has been now, is when the specific subject matter expert or department that's responsible for that particular issue is directed to respond to it.
But how soon will they be responding?
Well, typically, I mean, one of the future policies. That's a great question. One of the future policies is going to establish actual timelines for response. I know that there are issues with timelines, and I am concerned by that too. And we are going to be bringing policy forward on that as well. One of the issues, of course, has been as a result of bankruptcy and a lot of other of the city's other financial challenges. We simply have not in the past had enough staff available to do a lot of the work and to provide timely responses. We are in the process of rectifying that. It is an extremely important element of public service. There isn't a member of the council that I don't hear about that from, and it is a concern of mine as well. And that is something we are working on. One person I was speaking with recently referred to the way the city's been operating. We're operating a skeleton crew, and I completely agree. That is where we have been, and we're trying to get away from that now because our financial condition is a little bit better than it has been historically. So, but that is, I mean, that's kind of a long answer, but we are going to be establishing timelines for responses.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Councilmember Ibarra.
Thank you, Mayor. Going off on what my colleague, Councilmember Reynoso, mentioned about the page 81, talking about City Council will not blindside, or we will not blindside each other in public. I've always had an issue with this since I came on board, for those who may or may not know. I came from a background where if a report is being prepared by a manager or a supervisor, they would have all the answers. There should not be an excuse for not having answers when reports come to us and reports are taking weeks to prepare. I know in previous meetings, our mayor has left me out from asking questions publicly because I didn't email the questions before a meeting. And unfortunately, when a professional staff member prepares a report, we would expect them to know what's really going on instead of saying, I don't have the answer, but we'll get back to you. Sometimes we don't even get the answer. Sometimes we'll say, can you make an adjustment? And they ask us to approve the request. We approve it, and that adjustment never comes back before council. So if we can just fix that part of the municipal code under 4D, that would be very helpful. But that's where I'm coming from as a professional. I've worked in corporate quite a bit, and I would think that's not blindsiding when we're publicly asking our staff for answers. I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Reynoso, go ahead, sir.
This is my last comment, so I want to move forward. It's a great conversation. I think what's the public has been educated on is how kind of stringent our jobs are. Councilman Alexander, someone like myself, wants to get stuff done, like all of us. And I hope that the public hears, because we're not people who play the blame game. And that's why we're having this conversation still. But when something's not done, I want the public to know very well, or if you don't hear back, the city manager is responsible. It's literally how our government is set up. It's an important educational point. And to Mayor Pro Tem's point, you hit it right on the head. Accountability feels like an attack if you're not ready. We're no strangers to accountability. Like, what do you think we signed up for, is what I was trying to say in the beginning. And it's not a point to go back and forth. I'd like to move forward with the vote. Don't need education from anybody on the dais. But I wanted to express that this is how this government is set up in the city. Got a lot of work to do. Maybe it won't necessarily change, but there are literal legal barriers to getting things done directly for you, the constituents, because of the way this is set up. And I hope that everybody understands that. Thank you.
Okay, council, we've had some good conversation. There's been a request to separate the items. Let's take them individually on a yes or a no. Is there a motion to approve the staff recommendation on item number 1?
I'll make a motion.
I have questions on number 1. Is this the seal?
Yes. Go ahead, Councilman.
Sorry, I thought we were separating all these items.
Well, we are. I'm attempting to separate them, but please proceed with your question, sir.
Okay. Let me get my stuff real quick. Okay. So, of course, this is in regards to the seal, to the city seal. The guidelines in this ordinance are set in place, of course, for city employees, elected officials, appointed officials. Appointed, I'm assuming, would be the city manager, attorney, and clerk. Would commissioners fall under appointed? So this would include commissioners as far as, okay.
Councilmember Figueroa, if I may, if we're talking about the city seal, the municipal code already stipulates how the city seal can be used. There has been a request by council members to allow for an elected official city seal. So we have prepared a resolution and a policy that would allow for a modification under very stringent guidelines, simply for the purposes of the mayor and members of the city council. to have a modified version of the city seal that would provide for their name to be included, if that is something that the council wants to consider. This would not allow for commission members or any other entities to have their own modified seal, unless that's something that the council wants to consider. So that's what's presented for your consideration. Certainly, we can make modifications based on the direction of the majority of the council.
Would modifications be approved for somebody, again, going back to somebody serving as a proxy or surrogate of the council member?
No, if as it's currently written, it would simply allow for current office holders. Again, this would not be for anybody that is out of office, but current office holders holding a position as the mayor or members of the city council to have a modification of the seal under those parameters. But again, that's something that you as a body have to decide under what context and the requirements for that.
Thank you.
Councilman Charette on item number 1, sir.
Yeah, thank you. This is something we shouldn't even be discussing. I'd like to know what other cities do it. This is something we shouldn't even be discussing. We have a city seal. It should be used. In most corporations, there's a manual that puts out how a seal or logo can be used. We've got it in our municipal code. This is all about ego, in my view, and I've had letterheads that say Fred Charette, 4th Ward City Council member, but it had that old, ugly, horrible logo. We went through a process a few years back of consolidating all the printed material and got rid of that crummy logo that we had that was basically a street sign or whatever's on our street signs. It's horrible. It was terrible. It was done years ago, and we spent a lot of time bringing everything into compliance and having it all be exactly the same. And to individualize this just makes no sense at all. They don't do it in other cities, I don't believe, and they don't probably do it in the corporate world. And this is something we shouldn't even be wasting our time discussing.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Charette. Is there a motion for the item as it stands, item number 1? Is there a motion to approve that?
I move that it be approved.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second by Councilman Alexander Reynoso to approve as is item number 1. Ms. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Sanchez,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa,
No.
Councilmember Charette,
No.
Councilmember Reynoso,
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin,
No.
Councilmember Alexander.
Aye.
Okay, the motion fails with Councilmembers Sanchez, Figueroa, Charette, and Calvin voting in opposition.
All right, the item fails on item number 1. Proceeding on to item number 2, procedure for elected officials to place items on council agenda. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, Ms. City Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa,
Yes.
Councilmember Charette,
Yes.
Councilmember Reynoso,
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin,
Yes.
and Councilmember Alexander.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you, council. Item number 3, elected officials' interaction with city staff and administrative affairs. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
Is there a
Second.
by Charette? And Ms. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes, but it'd be, I'd like to put on the record that we bring it back to fix the wording for blindsiding.
Please proceed with the roll call.
Councilmember Figueroa,
Yes.
Councilmember Charette,
Yes.
Councilmember Reynoso,
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin,
Yes.
and Councilmember Alexander.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much, council. Moving on to item number 10. This is the amendment to the 2021 legislative and regulatory platform. The recommendation is there before you. Is there a motion for approval?
Move to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Yes, second.
Thank you. Any discussion? If not, City Council or City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa,
Yes.
Councilmember Charette,
Yes.
Councilmember Reynoso,
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin,
Yes.
and Councilmember Alexander.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Council. This is our consent calendar in one unanimous action. If no items are pulled, the items are there before you, items 1130 through 31. Members would please call out their polls, and we'll go ahead and open that up now.
Item 30.
Item 30. All right, sir. Any others?
I'm gonna do 22, and since you already pulled 30, and I just have a question on 28. I don't need to pull it.
Okay. All right. Is there a move to balance on that?
So moved.
Second.
There's Mr. City Manager, item number 12. I'd like to bring that before the council. This is the item of Electoral Redistricting Advisory Committee. I would disagree with the recommendation on 7 appointed officials, 1 from each council district, and I'm requesting that we place also 1 or 2 members from the mayor's appointing process. I'll turn it over to you, Mr. City Manager, or if there's support from the council on that.
Move to approve the staff recommendation.
Second.
Second.
Is there, I think at this point, this council member has to poll the item for discussion.
All right, we'll pull item number 12. We'll pull item number 12.
To council member.
Wait a minute, Mr. Mayor, there's a point of order. There is a motion on the floor and a second. You do have to go through with the vote.
It has to be pulled by a council member first, correct?
I have prerogatives to pull it too. I'm.
Is that true, City Attorney?
Yes, as a member of the City Council, the mayor may pull an item for discussion. If he's pulled this item, I took his comment to be that he had already pulled the item and then there was a motion and a second.
Sure.
So
Okay.
I believe we have to take action on that motion.
Thank you. We have to take action on the motion on the floor.
All right, so then we'll deliberate the item right now then on item number 12. This is an opportunity for the council to consider. I'm the elected official serving at large full-time in a position that reflects all 7 wards, and I don't have currently, as stated in item number 12. Now, for context and purposes of the general public, this is what we know as the Census Redistricting Committee. And the fact that the mayor does not have an appointment on this advisory committee, I think is probably just a oversight. And so again, I think that I do need a representation, and that would be my recommendation to this council, that we add language so that there's 1 added member for this advisory committee.
Move the staff recommendation.
Councilman Charette.
I'll second the staff recommendation, and I would be very concerned if I think we ought to give the staff an opportunity to respond to your comment that it was an oversight. I don't think it's an oversight. We got 7 wards, we got 7 council members. The redistricting has everything to do with individual council wards, nothing to do with the entire city, which the mayor is elected at large. So I don't have any problem with just 7 council members appointing people to this commission.
And I believe, let's go back and look. I believe that this is consistent with a resolution that was passed previously requiring that this be brought forward, I think. Is that correct?
If I may, this discussion took place at the February 17th meeting. Mayor, it took place soon after you excused yourself for the evening. And this was a recommendation that was brought forward by, I believe it was Councilmember Reynoso and Sanchez that moved were the movers and the seconders. for
Correct.
this.
I saw the videotape. So there's been a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and vote on item number 12. The city clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa,
Yes.
Councilmember Surratt,
Yes.
Councilmember Reynoso,
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin,
Yes.
and Councilmember Alexander.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Item number 12 passes as recommended. Back to the polls item. We have 22, 30, and 28 pulled. Outside of that, are there any others? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the balance.
Move the balance.
Second.
Second by Sanchez. And Ms. City Clerk, please call the roll on the balance.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa,
Yes.
Councilmember Surratt,
Yes.
Councilmember Reynoso,
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin,
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you, council members. This is item number 22. Councilman Reynoso, please proceed with your question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I believe this funding is going through PD, and it's important because it's for the emergency power shutoffs. I wanted to know how many generators were we looking to purchase with this money, and what's the rollout plan? Because it happens to my ward, it's just no secret. They just turn it off indiscriminately, kind of. Want to make sure those are in place.
Thank you, council member, for that question. But most importantly, the police department itself and its emergency operations center is in need of a new generator. The generators of that size to power a department building this big is pretty immense. So it may take up a good portion of that grant.
How much would you say?
I don't know. We have to go back out and bid that. We put in for the maximum amount that we thought we could get, and then we'll have to go and bid that generator.
Are there plans to actually have generators available to the public, or this is just for your emergency center?
Correct. If there's money left over, then we can look at how we can allocate that money.
Damn, I didn't know that. Excuse me.
Okay, thank you. And Councilman Reynoso, does that conclude your remarks, sir?
Yeah, this is a grant, correct?
Correct.
Okay, y'all make a motion
Move to approve.
Money's there.
Second.
Motion and a second, Reynoso and Sanchez. Councilman Figueroa, question, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you. Chief, I'm sorry. I don't know if you're still there or not. I'm sorry. I have so many little screens here. I'm not sure where you are.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Just curiosity, what happened to the existing or old generator, or is it what's the condition, or what happened to it?
It's getting end of life. So it's time for a replacement. The building is very old. As most of you probably know, the building is approaching 25 years. A lot of the infrastructure here in the building is just as old. And it's just one of those maintenance things that you have to, in time, replace.
What actually happens with it when it's no longer in use?
That's probably a question for facilities. If it's not usable, I imagine that the company installing it, hopefully they'll take it away because they're rather large.
And is it normal? Is it common for this type of a grant then, since you mentioned facilities, for this type of a grant to be written within the police department? Or would it have been a more appropriate, or was it written from the police department?
It was written by the police department. We saw it last year. The city applied for a grant through this program and was unsuccessful. This year, the police department wrote the grant again, and we were successful in obtaining the grant.
Was an officer removed from doing any type of, is there a dedicated police officer for doing this type of work, or was this officer removed from having to do other police type of duties?
So this is one of the captains in our executive staff is responsible for writing the grants that we apply for. And fortunately, he's been very successful. As you can tell, over the last couple of years, we've gotten, I think, $12 million in grants. So it's part of their responsibility. The captain's in charge of administrative services. So it includes those grants and administering that type of stuff, as well as overseeing finance in our department and other programs.
Thank you, sir. Great work as far as all the grants that have come through from the police department. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, there's a motion and a second, I believe. Let's call the vote on item number 22, please, Ms. City Clerk.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa,
Yes.
Councilmember Charette,
Yes.
Councilmember Reynoso,
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin,
Yes.
and Councilmember Alexander.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much, council. This is item number 28 with a quick question from the councilman from the 5th District. Councilman Reynoso, go ahead. This is a first amendment to consultant service agreement with Paragon Partners. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess this isn't directly related. It got my mind thinking about where our impact fees are spent. And City Manager, we've discussed this. I guess it's some homework. Could you please provide to the council sometime very soon, because I'm sure it's attainable, where our impact fees that are required from projects like this, warehouse development, where it's been spent over the last 10 years? Could you bring that forward maybe at our next council meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
If not the next, let me step back. Very soon. I'm not sure it'll be the next meeting. We are in the middle of budget season, and a lot of that information is going to have to come from our finance department. Matter of fact, we're having a presentation on the budget tomorrow. So let me work with Barbara, and we will get back to you as soon as we can, though.
Is 30 days?
30 days. Yes, 30 days would be fine. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I see Barbara nodding yes. 30 days.
Move approval.
Yes.
Move
Vote for
approval.
approval by Charette,
Second.
second by Reynoso. Go ahead, Ms. City Clerk. Call the roll.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa,
Yes.
Councilmember Charette,
Yes.
Councilmember Reynoso,
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin,
Yes.
and Councilmember Alexander.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Councilman, item number 30, this is award of nuisance abatement services agreement to CMEX Corporation for the removal of concrete pile on North Palm Avenue. The recommendation is there before you, threefold, appropriating nearly $2 million for the removal, and it's expressed in three recommendations to you. There's been two requests to speak on this from Councilmember Reynoso as well as Councilman Sanchez. Councilman Sanchez, you're recognized, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you. This right here is a serious mistake that the city would be making. I have questions for the staff. How many truckloads are we expecting to come up to remove that concrete and take it to a crush site?
Good evening, Councilmember Sanchez. Thank you for the question. So based on the estimates that we've had as we've kind of been looking through this, we estimate that there's 2,800 truckloads of concrete that will need to be removed. That is an estimate. Could be less, could be more.
2,800 truckloads. Each one of those dump trucks is a diesel engine. Diesel engines going uphill, fully burdened, the amount of diesel particulate matter that's going to go into the air. If we're talking here about poisoning the air and making people sick, this is the way to do it. Crushing on site is not a known carcinogen. You know what it is? Diesel particulate matter. If this had been crushed back in November, buried, a year from now, nobody would have known it even happened. You know why? Because it's happened in our city before. The Valley College campus here in our southern part of town, that was a crush site for years and nobody knew about it. The machines, the powertrain is a tier 4 engine. They have software and mechanisms in place that not even space shuttles 30 years ago had. They're mitigated. I would eat lunch right next to one of these machines. These machines do not poison the air. You know what does? 2,800 diesel engines going up into that neighborhood. Also at the cost of $2 million to the city and whatever litigation we're going to have to fight with that property owner. If we are really concerned about the well-being and the health of the individuals that live up in that neighborhood, we're going to crush on site and bury it. We're talking 4 weeks. These machines, they hum. They're not loud. They're not spewing out carcinogens. But you know what is? These diesel engine trucks that are going to go up there. And so I'm asking that we don't take this final step on this grave mistake that we would be making, because we're not talking just $2 million. We're talking $2 million plus a couple $100,000 more in litigation from the property owner, as well as the judge who may rule in the property owner's favor and say this entitled land that you've now prevented the property owner from building out to its best and most efficient use, you owe now that developer for that land. We're talking $1.6 million. We're talking $4 million because we won't crush on site. We've crushed on site for years. In Los Angeles, they're doing that right now on high school campuses. Since kids aren't in school, they're crushing on site. So look, we have the option of going haphazardly into this idea that crushing on site is somehow going to make people bleed from their ears and give everyone in the area cancer, but that's just not the case. And on top of that, it comes at a tremendous cost. Now, I'll tell you, if crushing on site caused cancer, then of course, I don't care if it costs $10 million to remove that rubble from there, then let's do it. But it doesn't. It would be the equivalent of spending $2 million on cutting down trees if someone's made the accusation that trees cause cancer. Crushing on site will not cause cancer. I don't know if I can drive the point home any further, and that's. I may have other comments, but I'll let my colleagues speak on that now.
Yeah.
Councilman, thank you, Councilman Sanchez. Councilman Reynoso, and then Councilman Charette. Go ahead.
Yeah, let the councilman speak who represents the ward. Okay. So the facts of the matter, and forgive me, trying to keep the tone down, but I have to deal with videos of dirt falling in. You're talking about grinding. The issue was grinding originally. People were going to be up in arms and sue us over that who live over there. No one wanted that. The reality is this is a staff blunder. It's a staff blunder. Can't name names. There was an active process, first from the developer, because they were short on concrete. People want answers to this. I'm going to give them as many as I can. The developer was short on concrete. They made a deal with the demolition crew, breaking down a burnt Amazon facility in Redlands. They move it. Tons of truck trips. Dump a dinosaur-sized pile in the north end. And they had the intention, with help of city staff, to move towards grading it on site. And now you're making your points. But I also want to say, you don't get to choose when pollution matters or not. I'm an environmental justice organizer. Like, I know what you're talking about. You don't get to use that for this conversation. That's not fair. Obviously, no one wants to spend $2 million, man. Nobody here, nobody in the city wants to spend $2 million. But you're talking about people's health. You're talking about dirt. Literally, I had videos literally just coming in. What do we have today and tomorrow? High wind advisory. What do you think that looks like? It looks like pelting debris on people's car. I'm literally hearing, and maybe I care about this more than most of you do, because I'm almost going to cry right now, thinking about young children with asthma, parents telling me new coughs are developing because they're breathing it. These are our people. You don't live in this ward, but this is your city too, Ted. Excuse me, councilman. And so we're here now. People want it gone. We're far beyond grading on site or anything like that. People want it removed. It doesn't matter. It's over 50 days. Don't sell that like you're going to have 2,800 truck trips in a week or a couple days. You're talking about 50 days. The technology, obviously, we're not a city that promotes electrification, electric trucks. Of course it's going to be diesel trucks, man. People know that. People know what's at stake here. Taxpayers know what's at stake here. People just want answers, and to be honest, they want heads to roll. But I'm not the person who can make that happen. I can tell you it wasn't a sitting council member's fault. I can tell you, and I hate to do it to you, it was staff. It was a fraudulent issue of a temporary use permit. That's in the abatement notice, abatement warrant. We have to move the pile. That's where we are. This thing is literally pelting, destroying people's windshields, destroying people's homes and windows, it's inundating their ventilation systems. Maybe we don't care because of the deep north end or something. But I'm here to tell you that it has to move. It has to move. We're beyond what price tag means. We're talking about people's lives. You can make all the arguments you want about how clean and eating next to it and grinding on site and all that. But that's not going to satisfy the people who live right there and have been dealing with this for months. And so you can talk about it further if you want. You can combat it, whatever. Know what you're going against. And I'll end by saying I make a motion clearly and obviously to approve the staff recommendation of number 30.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Charette, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, well, I with all due respect to my council member, I don't agree with any of that, and I don't think there's evidence to prove this pitting of windows, pitting of cars. I'd like to see the evidence of proof, but I'm not going to argue that. And I don't disagree really that maybe it was a blunder on our part. But sometimes you cut your losses, and if you make a mistake, you cut your losses and get the thing out of the way. And we could have done that 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago. We wouldn't be here today. I'm not going to support this, of course. And I'd like to. The materials have been tested. They are not toxic. They're big chunks of concrete. They're not blowing around. There's not dust blowing around. There might be dust blowing from underneath it. That's actually the dirt that it's sitting on. That's called land that it's sitting on. But those chunks of concrete are not blowing around, ruining windows, pelting cars, and what have you. And if anyone can show me that evidence, then I'll be satisfied. But I don't see it. And I'll correct my colleague. He talks about 2,800 truckloads going uphill unburdened or burdened, fully burdened. They're actually, with all due respect, council member, they're going to go up the hill unburdened. They're going to come down the hill burdened. So it's not 2,800 truckloads. It's 5,600 truckloads. It's double. They got to get up there. They got to load it. And I don't know what the product is or the equipment they are using to unload it. This is an absolute joke, what we're doing. And $2 million, I'm here to tell you, we aren't going to get out of this for less than 4 or 5 million when it's all over. And we will never see that recovered. We will never see the 2 million recovered. And it's going to cost us a lot more by the time you go through litigation and everything else. And I don't disagree that maybe it should have never happened. But man, once something happens and you make a mistake, you don't make it worse. You rectify it and eliminate it by moving quickly to rectify the problem. So I will be voting no.
Councilmember Alexander, then Councilmember Sanchez, Councilmember Calvin, please, and then Councilman Figueroa. Councilman Alexander, sir, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To my fellow Councilman Charette, you need to drive up there. I've driven up there to the 5th Ward.
Who said I haven't? How do you know I haven't?
Because you said so. You said you needed proof. I drove up there during the winds. There's some of the winds, and
no,
yes,
I said proof
can
of
I
people's
complete?
Cars being damaged.
May I complete without interruption? Thank you. I've driven up there. I've seen the winds and the debris that's come off that mountaintop. And yes, it does hit your car and cause other issues on people's homes and stuff like that. I even knocked on some doors in the 5th Ward to find out from the residents that live up there what's the issue with the Oxbow. And they all came back with the winds, the problems, the issues. So we do need to take care of it. If we are the issue and the problem, let's rectify it. Let's move forward and continue on because we have other issues and business of the city to do. Thank you.
Councilmember Sanchez, Councilmember Calvin, and Councilman Figueroa. Go ahead, Councilman.
Well, first of all, I want to say that my colleague, Councilmember Reynoso, has never given me a reason not to believe him. I don't think he's ever lied to me. He's not that type of person. So if he says that cars are being pelted and there's sand on the windows and sand in the neighborhood, It's probably true, and that's because there's exposed concrete up there. But it's going to take weeks to bring down that concrete and crush it on an off-site location. It's going to take weeks, maybe even less time, to crush on-site and bury it. And once it's buried, there's no more of that concrete in the air. There's no more of that concrete pelting cars and kids breathing that in. That's gone. This is the better option. If you want to see that concrete pile disappear as quickly and as safely as possible, the best way to do that is to bury it right there. Crush it and bury it. You can do that. The conservative estimate is 4 to 6 weeks. You don't think that the developer is going to be motivated to do as quickly as possible, knowing with everything that's gone around? They could possibly do it in less time than it would to haul that concrete off. And so I just want to offer to this council a better option. So I would make a motion that we direct the developer to immediately begin the process, or have staff rather bring back whatever resolution, ordinance, development code is necessary to allow for this developer to immediately begin crushing on site and burying that hazard that is out there, that is exposed right now. So that would be my motion, to direct staff to immediately take the first initial steps so that this council can approve having the developer immediately crush on site and bury that concrete.
I'll second it.
Is there a resolution that says there will be no grinding on site?
Hold on, Councilman Reynoso. Just let me. I'll recognize you in just a moment. Councilmember Sanchez, Ms. City Clerk, do you have the motion by substitute? And there's a second by Councilman Charette. Let's get through Councilman Reynoso. We'll get back to you in just a second. Let me try to follow the pecking order here of conversation. Councilman Figueroa, Councilmember Calvin, Councilmember Reynoso, and then we'll go back to Councilmember Ibarra. I just saw your hand up, Ms. Ibarra. Councilmember Figueroa, go ahead, sir.
I'll wait till Councilmember Calvin. I think the order was for her to go, and then I'll proceed after.
Okay, Councilmember Calvin.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I think that we are all overlooking something very, very important. And it's very difficult. This is a very, very difficult decision to make due to the fact that the Fifth Ward residents have spoke and are speaking very loudly. I don't know, Fred, if you ever, Councilman Charette, if you ever get on next door, you would clearly be able to hear their voices and talking about the amount of debris that is falling constantly in their yards, on their cars, so on and so forth. But what is also equally as important is that the residents of this city are able to see the transparency of how such a mistake is also made. This is a very, very costly mistake. And I do believe that staff here needs to be responsible, take some responsibility. Moving forward, yes, of course, we have to move forward, but in the best way possible as well. And due to the fact that we have all been placed in this situation, I have a question then for Mr. Huntley. How did we get here? There have been some information that was placed online. I don't know whether it has validity or not. It appears to be some redacted emails that have been retrieved, and it states there's tons of conversation between staff and this developer, and it is outlining how and when all this debris was going to get here. And it's very difficult for me to believe that no one saw this as a problem until all 2,800 or however many pounds of concrete it actually is. I heard it took 30 days to get there, that no one had anything to question at all. And yet here we are faced with this $2 million, $4 million price tag to satisfy, the Fifth Ward residents who either way have to pay. We all have to pay. We all have to pay. So if you would, please, sir, answer that question for me.
Yes, Councilwoman. So for the benefit of the City Council and based on the record, actually the city did issue a temporary use permit for the stockpiling of material on that property. And then the city also issued a hauling permit that would allow the material to be hauled and stored on the site. I do want to also point out that subsequent to that, City Council took action on October 21st to actually change the city's process, and actually at that point then prevented any additional grinding on the property. And that was action taken by the City Council on October 21st of 2020 associated with it. So there was kind of a change in the process in regards to what the original developer on the property would be allowed to do.
And so that took place within how long after giving him permission?
So the permits were issued in July of 2020, and the hauling permits were issued shortly thereafter.
And then it was in October that we decided that we wanted to retract.
And then based on concerns raised by the community, as well as the current council or the current council member that was seated in the 5th District, he voiced concerns, and the City Council took action, like I said, on October 21st to adopt a resolution that wouldn't allow grading, or I should say grinding of material on the property at all.
And for full context, Ms. Calvin, Mr. Huntley, we almost had the deal done, and it was on the floor that we made the substitute caveat by Councilmember Nickel. And there goes October 21st.
This is just, it's really appalling that we have to make this type of decision that costs the city this enormous amount of money either way that it goes, risking their health for this dollar amount. It's just appalling. It's appalling. And I also want to make mention that, Mayor, did you or did you not receive any donations from this developer?
You're refusing to answer that on the record? Your 460 state that you did.
Okay, Councilmember Calvin, thank you. Councilmember Figueroa, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I certainly wish there was an equitable amount of fervor when it comes to other areas of the city that are also experiencing dumping of concrete of blocks. There are other areas that are experiencing the same thing. One specific to the Valley College neighborhood, there's an empty field that has a lot of concrete blocks being dumped in that area. Now the residents in that area are experiencing rodent infestations and other health issues in that area as well. But it hasn't received a special meeting or an item on the agenda or articles written about it. Perhaps it's because it tends to be a lower income area, or perhaps it's because maybe there's immigrant families living in that area and they're unlikely to want to come up and speak up about it. But I want them to know that although, your area might not get an article written about, or it might not get a special item on the agenda for it, it is being addressed. And to the credit of our city manager, Rob Field, and Mr. Huntley, I know that we have had conversations internally about it, and certain actions are being taken, not as public as this, but I do want the residents of that area, specifically the Valley College neighborhood area, that your issue is just as important as this issue on the other end of town. I know that you've been ignored, and your area, Valley College area, has been ignored and hasn't had any type of special attention. And there doesn't seem to be the same amount of fervor for your area. And I do apologize for that. But just know that it is being taken care of internally. It will be taken care of as well. And that's all. I just really wish there was the same amount of indignation for what's happening in other areas of the city as well. And it's uncalled for, and it's inappropriate that we're not even addressing some of those issues as well. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Calvin, then Councilmember Reynoso.
Next.
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Councilman Figueroa, you're absolutely right. And like I voiced to you in other settings, I will support any rectification of poor development by any means. I'm not just, this is one city. And I am sorry that it got like that. And I do feel like it got this far because maybe my constituents, yes, are more well off, but I also know there aren't so many people that are that well off too. But I think that it's exactly like that, is that this whole city, we're going to end up, if we want to get things right, we'll probably end up spending millions in the next couple of years, just rectifying just poor development, poor deals, infrastructure, dumping in out of sight places where people don't speak English. So I'm with you. I don't want that to be like this is a one and done privileged situation. And that's really all I had to say. I wasn't going to chime in, but I appreciate that comment, Councilman.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilmember Kelvin and then Councilmember Charette.
Councilman Figueroa, please, I thank you for mentioning that, sir, because I also in the 6th Ward have a very large rubble area that I have been speaking to Mr. Huntley and City Manager Field, and I do hope that this gets fixed, resolved as soon as possible. And again, I believe that some areas who have lower income areas are overlooked. And so this rubble has been here for years and no one has ever discussed it. I've never heard it mentioned at City Council. And so I agree with you that all city, all wards need to be looked at and treated as fairly as we are asking for the 5th Ward constituents to be treated.
Councilman Charette, go ahead, sir.
I certainly can't disagree with any of that, and we all experience illegal dumping everywhere. This product that we're talking about today is not illegally dumped there. It's not there. We're comparing apples and oranges when we're talking about areas that are dumped with illegal rubble and what have you. And I couldn't agree more that we need to do this. Is a code, and first of all, this issue is unfortunate, and how it got here, I'm not sure. I don't want to throw our staff under the bus, but it's here. We should have dealt with it 6 months ago. We wouldn't be here now. But beyond that, these other items that my colleagues are talking about for illegal dumping and rubble piles and what have you throughout the city, couldn't agree more. We got a budget coming up. Let's apply about $10 million to code enforcement and put some real enforcement out there and get this place cleaned up. That's what needs to be done. And this is $2 to $3 to $4 million that we could be putting towards real code enforcement throughout the entire city.
Councilman, I have a question. How are we going to pay for this? Mr. City Manager, the $2 million on item number 30 here for the public's edification. How do we propose, if this were to pass tonight, how do we somehow pay for the $2 million?
We have this year experienced better revenues than anticipated, and we have what we're describing as an undesignated reserve, and we would pull the money out of the undesignated reserve. It's not money; it's money that is available and that has not been allocated yet. It would otherwise have been carried forward in a description that's called fund balance. It would have been brought forward into next year's budget for allocation then. So it is the money is available.
So we're dipping into the reserves. We have approximately $33 million in our contingency funds. There's 3 subsets. You're saying that suggestively it would be 33 million minus the 2 million. So we're at $31 million and we're dipping down into our reserves. Is that accurate?
We're dipping down into the undesignated reserve is not the same as the mandated reserves. We have mandated reserve, 2 mandated reserves. This is a separate amount of funding. And it would be better described actually as fund balance moving forward. As I said, it would be available for next year, or we're not being allocated for this purpose if that ends up being the council's direction.
Mr. Charette, go ahead.
With all due respect, and maybe tomorrow night we can clarify this, but undesignated reserves means nothing to me. It's taxpayer money that goes to the city. And if it's undesignated, give it to me. I can designate it real quick. This word undesignated, with all due respect to staff, finance, and what have you, it's designated to take care of the quality of life of this city, take care of things. And that's the problem with government. They've got all these buckets and all these terms. It's still taxpayer money. And 2, 3, 4 million undesignated reserves could be that are going to be used for this particular project could be designated for some other project in another area of the city that might be more it might help the community better. So this undesignated reserves, I don't want to hear that anymore. And we can start talking about that tomorrow night at our budget.
Councilmember Ibarra, my apologies. I think I might have skipped you, and I want to apologize to you. Go ahead, Councilmember.
Yes, so city staff, Ms. Chris, just quick question. The 2,800 trips, how did you come about that number?
So that was actually based off of information that we had obtained from the property owner that put the concrete there, that had hauled the concrete up.
Okay, and so for my colleagues that are talking about the trips going up and down the hill, just know that when this concrete was taken to the Oxbow project, they were heading uphill. So we're concerned about the fuel. Going uphill on these trucks filled with concrete is much more damaging to our environment than coming downhill. The other one, I want to say, I believe the reason we are doing this is because the developer was not responsive to the city, correct? So for my colleague, Councilmember Sanchez, to want to give another opportunity to this developer who has continuously, time after time, disregarded the city and what we've asked of them, to give him another chance, it's something I will not be willing to consider here. The other item that we have, I believe in October 20, at the meeting in October, Mr. Huntley, it was for a permit to grind. It was not the permit to take the cement or the blocks to the project. I believe that's what we were discussing in October, just the grinding action.
So you are correct. So there were some concerns brought up by City Council, more specifically Councilman Nichols, associated with the potential of grinding on site. So at that meeting, City Council took action. One of those was to direct staff to modify our temporary use permit standards, if you remember. And the other part, as part of those standards, it would not allow grinding on residential property such as this. And if grinding was allowed, it could not be on residential, and then it would need to be at least 1,000 feet from any residentially zoned property.
Correct.
So.
And I just wanted to clarify that for the record as well.
Sure.
So those were all my comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, we've had some very good conversation here. We got some more. Councilmember Sanchez, Councilmember Calvin. Go ahead, Councilman.
Well, I thought maybe I would be the last one. So look, I just want to say again, this is hazardous what's up there. Best way, the fastest and safest way to make that hazardous site go away is to crush on site. It's the safest and fastest way. And by the way, we'll save the city millions of dollars. And look, the developer will crush on site if that was the city's ask. If that was the city's ask, then yeah, I'm sure that they would crush on site. That's what they intended to do. But when we demanded that they spend $2 million on removing that concrete and crushing off site and then bringing it back, that's where they said no. I'm assuming they said no, and that's why we're paying for it.
No, they failed several times prior to that, Councilmember Sanchez, which former council
What, to crush on site?
No, on anything regarding that project years past, and that's something that former council member Henry Nickel brought to light at that meeting, and it was totally disregarded by my colleagues. Sorry.
I know. There's mentality. We all want to win, but this is the best thing for the city and for those people up in that neighborhood. All right, because that's $2 million. Those get pulled out from streets that need to be paved in my neighborhood. Sandra's district, my district, they're the poorest districts in the city. They're the streets with the worst paved or the worst street conditions. I rode along with Councilmember Ibarra the other day, and there were places that terrified me. I mean, it was evening, it was getting dark, but still, I mean, there were some really, really, really bad roads. You know how much $2 to $4 million fixes? You know how much that helps people out in our districts? We're going to throw away money. This crushing on site is the best and safest option for us. I've already said too much. That's the last I'll say on this. But that's my motion. I think City Clerk, if you have that. I don't know if there was a second, but
We have a second, Councilman.
All right, that's all I have.
Councilmember Calvin, go ahead, and then we'll wrap it up with the opinion from the city attorney. Ms. Calvin, go ahead.
But wasn't there a resolution created that says that we could not grind on site? Yes, no?
That's actually the issue that I wish to address when I'm recognized.
Was there a resolution created that said that we cannot grind on site?
All right, Ms. City Attorney.
Yes.
Wait, you're going to answer my question or?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to answer your question. Okay. Yes, there was a resolution. And I do also need to point out to the mayor and council, it's not that you can't have a discussion or that you can't take action to give council or to give staff direction, but the item that's actually on the agenda this evening is a recommendation to approve a contract. So it's actually in the form of an expenditure to carry out a previous action. So while you can, under the Brown Act, give direction to staff, taking action to completely reverse or rescind the previously adopted resolution is not agendized. You can vote tonight to give direction to staff to bring that resolution back and to make that change in policy, but that is not the item that's on the agenda this evening. I just wanted to clarify that for you before you take action.
Make a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
I'll second.
Mr. Sanchez, point of order, sir. Do you want to modify your substitute motion upon the advice of the city attorney?
So, Ms. City Attorney, just for clarification, we're talking about at what point would I bring up that if it seems like the council is not in favor of doing away entirely with the development code or the resolution that prevents grinding or crushing on site, but making this exception once so that they can crush on site and bury it. Can I make a motion to that effect?
You can make a motion to bring that item back for discussion before the city council. You certainly can do that. But you have to remember that the purpose of the Brown Act is to give the public notice of the actions that the council may take. The noticed action here was to adopt a contract. So folks who would have thought that the council was carrying out its previous actions and thought there might be approval of a contract would not have been noticed that there could potentially be an action tonight that completely reversed course. So it's not that you can't do that, it's that we have to do it properly if you have the council votes to do so.
How do I do that properly?
If you could ask your council colleagues if they would support you in asking staff to bring back an agenda item to modify resolution 2020-265 and to make that exception that you're talking about.
Can I do that right now?
Yes.
You may do that.
All right, Ms. City Clerk, you kind of heard that.
And I'll second it.
Yes.
So that's the substitute motion, folks. Let's call the roll on the substitute motion. Councilman Sanchez, Councilman Charette, on the substitute motion. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem.
No.
Councilmember Figueroa.
Yes.
Councilmember Charette.
Yes.
Councilmember Reynoso.
No.
Councilmember Calvin.
No.
Councilmember Alexander.
Nay.
Okay, the motion does not pass. Council members, Mayor Pro Tem Ibarra, Councilmember Reynoso, Calvin, and Alexander voting in opposition.
Okay, the motion then is for Councilmember Reynoso on his motion. And is there a second to the councilman's staff recommendation on item number 30?
I'll second.
All right. This is again to expend as stated in your packet material. Ms. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Sanchez.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa.
No.
Councilmember Charette.
No.
Councilmember Reynoso.
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin.
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 4-3 with Councilmembers Sanchez, Figueroa, and Charette voting in opposition.
Okay, thank you very much, council members. That concludes the consent calendar portion of tonight's meeting. These are items number 32 through 38. We'll call for it individually based upon the direction and advice of the new ordinance. This is a request from Councilmember Alexander. Request a full report within 30 days on the process to restrict truck routes. Is there a motion for that approval?
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, and Ms. City Clerk, this is to agendize that for a future meeting. Please call the roll on item number 32, please.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa,
Yes.
Councilmember Charette,
Yes.
Councilmember Reynoso,
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin,
Yes.
and Councilmember Alexander.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 33, direction to develop a policy regarding appointments to boards and commissions, suggested and recommended by Councilmember Alexander. Item number 33, is there a motion?
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Ibarra, second by Reynoso. Any discussion? If not, council members, please call, or Ms. City Clerk, call the roll.
Council, before you take a motion, we need some clarification in terms of what specifically you're asking for so that we can bring back the item.
Mr. Alexander, would you like to respond?
Yeah, actually, my words were taken out of context. I was actually asking for the Charter Review Committee to be activated so we can work forward on our charter. That's what I was actually asking for.
So the committee already exists. We will be reactivating that committee as we have been doing the others based on their regular meeting schedule. We'll be looking for their availability on June 1st would have been their scheduled meeting date. So we will be reaching out to the members to confirm their availability.
Okay, that's what I was really asking. When was the Charter Review Committee going to be activated?
Okay, thank you, Councilman. I think you have clarity on that. Item number 33, sensing that there's no need to discuss it, that item, we'll just pull it. Item number 34, amend the charter to remove the position of the mayor as a full-time elected official. This is by Councilmember Charette.
Thank you, Mayor. This is simply to get the dialogue going. It probably at some point in time will end up with the Charter Reform Committee for review, but this is really something that I believe is necessary under the new form of government, a manager council form of government. There's a cost savings to do with it. It clarifies some things. There are ways that this can be done, and this is really just and still be an effective governing body. And it has nothing to do with personalities or persons. It has everything to do with the position. And I just think a good governance, and it is something that if we can get it on the ballot for 2022, we will let the public decide whether or not this is necessary or not. But in the meantime, have discussion about it, kick around options for how we would fulfill some of the roles that the current elected mayor fulfills, and so it's really just to kind of get the ball rolling to discuss amending the charter to eliminate that position.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Figueroa, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. I want to be careful. I want to be a little extra careful here and not broadcasting to the committee which direction they should take. But certainly do support in them reviewing the role of the mayor, but also in that including the role of a veto power as well. I think if this is to be considered for a future meeting, we need to be very careful as far as the wording that is used, as far as not to broadcast to the committee what the council's, help me out here. I'm trying to make sure that we're not giving them a direction. I think it's important for them to decide independent of whatever the council might feel, but for them to be able to come together as a committee to have this discussion as far as the role of the mayor, and I would include in that the veto as well. So just that's all I'm asking is just being careful as far as how we actually word this to not broadcast or give a direction or a directive to the committee as far as what direction to take.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Charette, is your recommendation to have this topic heard in the Charter Review Committee, or would it then procedurally come back or initiate and begin with us at City Council at a future meeting, and then we punt to the Charter Review Committee, or what's your position on that?
Well, you put that fairly well. I think probably I want to have the discussion with the council. The committee is an advisory committee. Certainly we value their input, but we make the final decision on whether or not this goes on the ballot. Now, they can help us with language. We will certainly be getting language from our legal. And we need, I don't disagree with Councilman Figueroa that we need to be careful on how it's worded. We want to be effective. The whole purpose of this is to make us more streamlined, more effective, and get things done, and perhaps in the process saving some money. And so I don't have a definitive answer on exactly what the process or the pathway would be, but I wanted to start with staff coming back with maybe some recommendations how other cities do it, and then talk about how we can get it on the ballot for the 2022 election, and certainly would want input from the community. They're the ones that are going to be voting on it, so we would want the I said committee, I meant community. If I didn't say community, I meant community input, but certainly through our Charter Review Committee would certainly be a good way to have this thing kicked around and various options and ideas on how we move forward with this.
Hey, Fred, since we're talking about kind of generalities here, with the consolidation of the mayor's office, perhaps we might even discuss the opportunity to do at-large appointments and only have 5 council members too.
The law and the courts are not going to allow for that.
Call for the vote.
You never know, folks. It might might just. It's a slippery slope, folks. But
you're a slippery slope, my friend.
Motion to call for the vote.
Yeah. Okay. Is there a motion? There's a motion by Fred. I didn't hear a second.
Second.
Oh, this is great. Okay, council members, get ready to cast your vote. Ms. City Clerk.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa,
Yes.
Councilmember Charette,
Yes.
Councilmember Reynoso,
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin,
Yes.
and Councilmember Alexander.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, this is item number 35. Councilman Charette, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, and this one is just an item. There's been some concern, and I've had it brought to my attention by a few people. I don't think we should be having public comments before we take any kind of vote. If it requires a council vote, then it should be put after public comments. I would only use one example. Most recently, an example of there were people that wanted to comment on people that were going to be appointed to commissions, and by the time I made my appointment and it was approved, there might have been 10 people that wanted to say, I don't support that particular appointee. And so I just think that we should hear from the public on any agenda item before we vote on it. And then the other thing I'd like to talk about, and we want to handle this with care because we don't want to add a lot of time to our meetings. They're going pretty long as it is now. But as we a long time ago, a few years ago, we actually had a 3-minute or up to 3 minutes for council members to go around the table and make local announcements. For example, the announcement that the city manager made today about the fire department turning in fireworks, or it could be a constituent or a community meeting going on in your ward. But we went to Channel 3 to do all that and did it all. And I don't know how effective that was. I didn't feel like it was very effective. And I think it's better if we would have up to 3 minutes. Maybe we only want to do it 2 minutes, and we didn't always use the full 3 minutes. Sometimes you would go by and say, I don't have anything to announce tonight, so there wouldn't be any time taken by that particular council member. But I would like to do that at the beginning of the meeting like we used to do it. And certainly not at the end of these late meetings, because we should be talking to our public and making announcements to our public. And many times we lose the audience by 10 or 11 o'clock at night. So that's my only thought there.
Councilman, that's you bring up some good points, but you have the opportunity to have town hall meetings and interact with your council district. Are you availing yourself of that opportunity?
Always, whenever.
Okay.
But that's entirely different. That's an entirely different.
Not necessarily, but
in my opinion, it is. So no, I'm just talking about having announcements from the council every 2 weeks when we have our meetings.
And on fair balance, the 3 minutes council announcements, you have afforded opportunity to record that in the TV station, or because of COVID, you can make those councils. And I know Councilmember Sanchez does a great job about conveying that message to his residents. So anyhow, Councilman Alexander, go ahead, sir.
Appreciate that, Mr. Mayor. I concur with Councilmember Charette. I think we should have that time to share what's going on in our wards, if possible. And also, can we reinstitute invocation at the beginning of our meetings, because I believe we need prayer. So do I need to make a motion?
No,
for that,
I'll
Mrs.
add that
Correct?
to my. I'll add that to my. That's not a problem, and certainly when we go back into meeting in public, that will certainly, I think, will come back. But I don't have a problem with that at all. Just don't ask me to give the invocation.
I won't ask you
then.
then.
I'm not good at it.
Okay, Councilmember Reynoso, go ahead, sir.
I appreciate the sentiment, Councilman Alexander, and I understand coming from a very religious family, but I want to be mindful that not everybody in this city kind of agrees to under one banner. I'm a very faithful man myself. I do. I believe in God myself, and I have a very strong faith. But there are a lot of other religious denominations, and I want to be mindful of committing to anything like that, very specific.
And I agree with you 110%. When we did invocations, it was not one specific denomination. It was various denominations.
No, I appreciate that then. I'll make a motion to approve what's on the floor.
Second.
Okay, great. City Council, or I'm sorry, City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Sanchez,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa,
Yes.
Councilmember Charette,
Yes.
Councilmember Reynoso,
Yes.
Councilmember Calvin,
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Item 36, this is a citywide warehouse moratorium requested to be added to future council meeting. Councilmember Reynoso, go ahead, sir.
So it's straightforward. We can argue about the time frame later, but I think that it's pretty crucial in a city that has 72 warehouses, got over 2,500 truck trips per day in and out through the city. Like you were talking about, Councilman, that actually does happen every day with our warehouse and logistics. And so I think it's time to get a handle on the vacant warehouses. I'm very aware that there's a lot of vacant ones still around. And this is not anti-business. I don't want anybody to perceive that like that. There's a diversification of business. It's the opportunity that people have been asking for. It's why a lot of people have left this area. It's why I have a lot of broken friends because of the employment kind of standards. And we haven't really had the time to look into it because they've just been popping up like daisies. And so I'd like to visit and really seriously study. And I'd like for this to come back in the form of a resolution of some sort so that we can have real meaningful conversation in the next 30 days if possible. But that's it. It's pretty straightforward. Just pause all the warehouse development for a while. And let's start to look into what's already been built. And let's do the due diligence of all the people who are employed here on a revolving door basis. And let's do the right thing. I grew up here. I saw the warehouse boom. You've all seen it. We've all felt it. We talk about infrastructure all the time. And thank you, Councilman Alexander, for the restricted truck route. Like that, come on. Like these go hand in hand to me. And I think like you heard in the public comments, and you'll hear if you really ask anybody, like I was mentioning with that hard vote against San Manuel, but what better way to go out than with the second largest warehouse, you know? That's compromise if I've ever known it. And so that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. More discussion on it. Councilmember Sanchez and Fred, did you have your hand up?
Not yet. I thought Sanchez had his up.
Councilman Sanchez, go ahead, sir.
I'll go first. I don't care.
Councilman Sanchez, then Councilman Charette. Go ahead.
Yes, for a moratorium, I think government code requires 5 votes. I think that instead of doing this kind of haphazardly, this should be part of our larger general plan update. We really need to take a good assessment of what the impact of these warehouses, if there is mitigating measures that can be taken, and if that can't be the case, then of course let's put a moratorium in. But again, we can't make good decisions without good information.
This would be agendized.
I'm still a little. Yeah, but what would be agendizing is a resolution to put that moratorium in place. I would much prefer to direct staff to come back with a comprehensive assessment of the impact of these warehouses, and that could be done also through the mechanism of updating our general plan. But I guess maybe I'm still a little bitter about the item that was approved earlier today. But I don't think we're making right decisions. We're using. I want to use good information, and all I hear right now is that they're bad, and I can't help but think when I grew up in this city in the 90s, I could only see the mountains a couple weeks maybe out of the year, and now the inverse is true. It's maybe a couple days out of the year when I can't see those mountains. But we have more warehouses now than ever before. So something doesn't seem to be making sense to me. And honestly, I genuinely believe that most of the pollution we suffer from happens to be the fact that we're traversed. The entire city's traversed with the interstates, the 10 freeway, the 215, the 210. If anything is causing that, it's going to be those freeways. I don't believe it. These warehouses, they definitely are a very polarizing thing, but I would prefer to go with good information. And again, I think that can happen with our general plan.
Can I add one more thing before the conversation goes on the data that already exists? The data does already exist. This would be like an initiation to connect the dots in a way the city's never tried. The information's out there.
Yeah, in the streets. That we drive. But yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we bring this back.
Hold on, Councilmember Barr, just a moment. Hold on. We'll get to you in a moment. Councilman Charette, you had your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. Well, first of all, I think, and if we're going to discuss this later in detail, I've got a number of notes here and a lot of things that I've thought about here. I don't support a moratorium. I think a moratorium is the absolute worst message to send to the development community. It's a real problem. I guess there's caveats to moratoriums. Are they for a couple of months while we get our act together? Are they for 2 years? Are they, what is a real moratorium? But the fact of the matter is, there's a few cities that have put in moratoriums, and the developers are just going to go around those cities and go elsewhere. They're going to be here. We're in an e-commerce world, and it's the young people that have brought us there, with technology. And I just don't think we're going to stop it. I mean, back to talking about
Councilmember,
yeah. If we're going to use this process,
okay, maybe I'm going too deep.
Meetings. We need to be very careful of the Brown Act. This is not the time to debate the merits. And if there's opposition to it, then you should just vote not to consider it. But I just want to be mindful.
I vote not to go forward.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Charette. Councilmember Ibarra, please proceed with your comment or question.
I just want to make the motion to bring it forward at a future meeting,
Bring what forward?
the moratorium
On job centers? Okay,
on warehouses,
got it.
Motion to approve is what you're saying?
to bring it back to the council
For consideration as an agendized item.
as an agendized item.
I second that motion.
Okay, there's a motion to approve moratorium on
warehouses.
Wait a minute.
my term, hold on.
No, we're
My-
not.
my
Mayor,
term-
bring it back to the agenda for consideration.
Yeah.
Hold on, just relax, everybody. A moratorium on job centers. My words, it's a free country and I can say that. As stated in the staff report, this is a moratorium on warehouses. The support from Councilmember Ibarra, Councilmember Reynoso. Any final questions or comments? Otherwise, we'll ask the city clerk to please call the roll. Councilman Charette, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just confused on what you just said. Yeah, we're not voting on a moratorium on anything. We're voting, I think, to bring something back for discussion.
That's
And
correct.
that's what, and I don't support
Okay.
the idea of a moratorium, but I can support bringing it back for discussion. But I won't be supporting it then.
Okay. Ms. City Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Sanchez,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem,
Yes.
Councilmember Figueroa,
Yes.
Councilmember Charette,
Well, I know I said I'd support it for coming back for discussion, but I really can't. Why vote for it before you vote against it?
Just.
So I'm voting no.
All right, thank you.
Councilmember Reynoso,
I call it due diligence, council member. Yes.
Councilmember Calvin,
Yes.
Councilmember Alexander.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 5-2 with Councilmember Sanchez and Charette voting in opposition.
Okay, council members, we thank you for a great night. Items to be referred to committee is our last item. I'm sensing nothing, so this meeting is adjourned. We appreciate your participation tonight. Thank you to our viewing audience. Everyone have a wonderful evening. Thank you, city council members, for your preparation in tonight's meeting. Have a good night.
Good night, everyone.